Mm,
Ready?
I expect no more than somewhere between 10 and 20 minutes, probably somewhere around 15.
Okay, so could we do that and then we could grab lunch and then come back?
Yeah.
Well, that would give you the opportunity to.
So,
Okay. All right, I'll turn over to you then.
all right, awesome.
We need to make contact with anybody on the public that was here.
Yeah.
No.
The staff, they do that automatically.
Give a few minutes for the public to come back if that's okay with the board.
Do we take the sign off now?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, sign can come off, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for doing.
Or if you're involved, yeah,
I'm learning.
with communicating with the public to tell them we came out of the executive session.
Sure. I was like, oh, a message to chat. No, they're not gonna get it.
Said I figured out how to streamline this
Right?
process.
Emails.
Do we communicate, I'm guessing, through email?
Yeah, we asked them with their email in the chat.
Awesome. Okay, great. Okay.
If you had it, it's a little clunky, isn't it?
Guess I'll let y'all let me know when to start.
Oh, we don't have to wait.
Okay, cool. All right.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I will go ahead and start the executive director report. then. So as far as the legislative update, as it stands right now, I haven't detected any legislation that directly affects the board going through. Well, they're in short session right now. So anything that affects the board directly going into short session, if you all are aware of anything, please let me know. Fine with that. The only thing I know that's likely to come up is the compact. So it wouldn't surprise me if the compact comes up again. My understanding is with the legislation, with the legislators in this session trying to get a hold of the budget, that may not wind up being a priority. I've heard that multiple times. I'll continue to keep an eye on that and continue to monitor that and keep the board informed as we go. But that's my understanding. Any questions on that? Okay. As far as the Thintia update, well, there's been a lot going on with Thintia. So to summarize, my Thintia is going through what's called, so Thintia is a Canadian company, and they are going through what's called the receivership. The equivalent to that in the United States is bankruptcy. But my understanding is their intent is to continue to operate. So in Canada, they get a receiver, and the receiver goes through their records, and the goal of I don't know what the goal is, but my understanding is what they're looking for as the outcome of that is that the receiver streamline their budgetary process so that they continue operations and then figure out a way to take care of the building. That doesn't affect us a whole heck of a lot because we already had the goal a year ago of but looking for exact. Well, I'm not going to say that specifically. I can't say that. But what I can say is looking for a solution. Exactly. The board can. So I've already been, for a year, I've been working for ways for looking for a solution. The Department of Justice and DAS-IT is monitoring what's going on with Thintia's receivership. In the meanwhile, I've regularly been looking for solutions. We already have kind of there's some solutions out there that exist that we can afford, and so we're moving in that direction, irregardless of what goes on with Thintia. And we've always been moving in that direction, irregardless of what's going on with Thintia. So I don't expect that to affect us very much. We've had the direction. We've been moving in that direction. I expect us to be okay as far as that goes. What else? Yeah, I think I've already talked to you all. They offer a cloud-based solution, which I'm not even remotely interested in looking at. And then they've got, I guess, some other system coming out. But once again, they can do what they want to do. That doesn't affect the direction of this board. So, any questions on that? All right. And then as far as the board member update, welcome, Troy. Troy is our newest public member. We do have one public member opening I do want to include, some of you may have had access to, so there were some names that I submitted in the last round. Troy's name was not among those names. So Troy was selected by the Executive Appointments Office specifically to come join the board. Um, the board, you all didn't have much input into that. But we still do have one public member opening. My understanding is the names that I put forward for, and my feedback for that is the board changed their direction. After we submitted the names, the board or the Executive Appointments Office chose to change their direction, which they can do. They work for the governor. That's their call. My understanding is they're going to still use the two names that I put forward in the next round. And I will continue to communicate with them to find out, see if that's their direction. But ultimately, it's, I guess, the governor can do what the governor does. So, we still have one public opening. Any questions?
You know what the change in direction is now?
No, they don't have to tell me. I try to stay informed as much as I can. I stay in communications with them. No, I don't know what they're looking for this time around, but I'll make sure that my understanding is they're going back to their old criteria. But I'll make sure I stay in contact with them.
Maybe Troy knows.
Yeah,
He meets the old criteria.
They said last time that they wanted people who like documented.
that was my understanding. Yes.
But now they don't want that.
So I'm not at liberty to say what the governor wants or does not want. I think Amy kind of, walked me with that process. But yeah, I'm not the Executive Appointments Office, so I can't state what they want or what they want. The way the process works is I contact the Executive Appointments Office. I ask them what criteria they wanted in the names that I submit. I make sure that criteria is part of the names that I submit. And then what they do after that is completely up to them. I don't have any control over that process. So my understanding is that, they have a set of criteria, and that's the criteria that when those two names that I submitted fit within that criteria. If they're going to keep that or not, I don't have any control. But what I can do is make sure that I'm informed is if there is a change. So, and that's what I intended to do. So, you're welcome. Let's see. As far as the staffing update goes, the announcement for the investigator 2 position has been released. So there is an investor 2 position that is open right now for investigators who fit the minimum requirements to apply. If you all know anyone that have some investigations experience and wants to work for the Board of Licensed Social Workers, please let them know that requisition is now open. And I expect to be open for at least the next couple of weeks. So that's what's going on with that position.
Will any of the board members be a part of the hiring process?
Oh, well, yeah, if you all want to be part of the hiring process, absolutely. Yep. And then I also be hiring a temporary, probably 6 month to a year OS2 to fill in to help out with. They're going to provide support between the licensing team and the compliance team, so that I can take someone from the licensing team and have them help out with compliance to get some more of those cases closed. So, and that's the staffing update. Any questions on that? Okay. And then the licensee statistics, those are in box. Those open. And then do you all want me to read through this? Or are you all okay with going through it? Okay. So, only thing that I would point attention to is the total number of licensees. We're at 9,800 licensees now. So we're almost at 10,000. So we have a team of 6. so, you all have an amazing team. Exactly. So, yeah. So, give a hand to to this amazing team. So seriously. They are doing an awesome and amazing job. Uh, let's see. Yeah,
It's like
lots of folks.
115 more.
They're knocking it out the park.
To refresh the page. Try that.
Okay.
Sometimes that works.
Thank you.
I don't know what it does that to mine too. I
Okay.
think it's a box thing.
Yeah. Okay, and then the applicant statistics.
Questions?
Any questions on the applicant statistics?
I'm just looking at raise invisible,
Oh, that one? You like that? Yeah, I'm streamlining. And if you notice, we did some work on that CSWA. We're not prioritizing CSWA applications. We haven't been doing that for quite some time. There's no need to. So within about 6 months of me joining, we had all the well, I shouldn't say all of them, but we had streamlined the processes to where there was no need to. We were doing all applications at the same time with all the same timeline. So there was no need to prioritize CSWA applications. So you won't see that on there anymore. Thank you, Kim. Kim is our policy analyst, and she deals with the data. And yeah, that was one of her recommendations. And so I think that was an awesome recommendation. As you see, our processing times are still really, really low. We're 10 to 14 days from when the person presses that submit button to where they're working on we're getting their application processed. And then the oldest day is what? 14 days. So, yeah. And as you can see, your applications, wow, they're lots of applications being submitted. Okay. Any questions on any of that?
Really good work. Just really appreciate it.
Thank you all. Yep. And if you all had time, feel free to walk out to say that to the team that's in the office there. They would love to hear that. So. So, and that is all I have.
The other feedback that I hear is like folks are calling and they're getting a person.
Yes.
So that is helpful.
Mhm.
Like they're like, so many times I've called and left messages, but I'm calling and I'm getting a person that can walk me through it.
Mhm.
So that I love when I hear people like,
Yeah.
great. I love that.
That stuff is awesome.
Yeah. Staff are awesome. Yeah. So yeah.
And that's the amazing. We're having so many new licensees. Is that like it's been streamlined? But do you all have any idea of like what's really happening? Because we don't have like more schools, right?
Telehealth.
Yeah.
People who are already licensed in other states want to serve someone in Oregon, they have to be licensed here. So I think that's some of it.
Yeah, that is some of it.
Not all of it, but it's some.
Yeah. Yeah, that does attribute to it. Absolutely.
Mhm.
Is there a community, the phrase I've heard before is travelers. So sports teams. Think about,
Nurses.
sports teams come in, teams playing the Trailblazers come from another state. They have their own folks with them. Do they need an Oregon license to practice outside of?
You have to have an
Yes.
Oregon license if your
Practice in the
client is in
state.
Oregon.
Right.
That's, so I can live anywhere.
Yeah.
But if I'm licensed in Oregon, I can only serve Oregon residents.
So I was thinking like,
We're physically in Oregon.
I was thinking like when they do the Olympic trials in your team, a whole bunch of people come with those groups. They need to think ahead and make sure they get their license.
Well, every state is different. So I'm not going to say that if a team comes over here from Minnesota, that a Minnesota provider can't provide them services. That's Minnesota's law.
I think Molly's on the right track. Like there's
Yes.
lots of mental health agencies popping up that credential people and they're like, oh, you want to do telehealth in Oregon? Get your telehealth.
Right. Exactly. Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah, they're soliciting
Yeah.
anyone.
Uh,
They're currently licensed. I mean, I get several a month easily,
Easy.
if not weekly. Like Both text and email.
There.
Hey, come work for us.
I've been
Yeah,
solicited for operations, so I've probably been called
yeah,
25
they're pretty,
because they're like, do you want to come work for us? Do you want to come work for us? Because they want to understand how Oregon works. It's wild how, because there's people out there who don't have to have these licenses, but understand how to run telehealth, understand how to run IT, all this other stuff. So they are opening up these new air agencies.
Mhm.
The cloud.
Yeah.
the Oregon
And they're
Tides.
taking care of the billing and they're taking care of all the compliance. And they're streamlining everything.
Do we have statistics? I know OHA collects some of this data, but do we have statistics for people who like are like the percentage of the practice gets telehealth?
Yeah, we don't really.
Or do we
That
have
kind of data.
Do we have statistics on people whose address is in Oregon versus out of state?
We can pull that data, sort it. Yeah, we can do that.
Are you guys open to grabbing lunch, bathroom break? So just a quick 10-minute break to grab something to eat, use the restroom, and we'll come back and get to it.
That's fine.
For those that are on, I think, Linda and Brittany, we're going to take just a quick 10-minute break to grab our lunch, and then we will get started again.
Ask them that.
All right. Next on the agenda are our committee reports.
That's me.
And do you want to go first,
I
Molly?
can, that's fine. I just need to get my
Take your time.
little format here, so. See it on table. Okay. So. No discussion right now, just gonna go through the motion list. So in the matter of case 2019-39, I move that we close this case.
This is Amy and I'll second.
And then, we'll vote, going around the table, please.
Patty Farr, aye.
Thank you.
Troy Castalis, aye.
Thank you.
Aye.
Thank you.
Sylvia Borman, aye.
Thank you.
Amy Ashton's aye.
And Molly Jansen, aye. There are no nays and no abstentions, so that motion passes. The matter of case 2021-03, I move that we close this case.
This is Amy.
Second.
And I second. Thank you. I'm like, what do I do? I second.
And then we'll do our roundtable vote.
Patty Farr, aye.
Troy Castalis, aye.
Nicole Pantley, aye.
Sylvia Borman, aye.
Amy Ashton's aye.
And Molly Jansen, aye. And there are no nays or abstentions on that one, so motion passes. Matter of case 2024-01, I move that we close this case.
This is Amy and I second.
Patty Farr, aye.
Troy Castalis, aye.
Nicole Pantley, aye.
Sylvia Borman, aye.
Amy Ashton Williams, aye.
And Molly Jansen, aye. No nays or abstentions, so that motion passes as well. In the matter of case 2025-07, I move that we dismiss this case.
Patty Farr, my second.
Amy Ashton Williams, aye.
Patty Farr, aye.
Troy Castalis, aye.
Nicole Pantley, aye.
Sylvia Borman, aye.
And Molly Jansen, aye. No nays or abstentions. The motion passes. And in case 2018-33, I move that we ratify the stipulated final order.
This is Amy and I'll second.
Patty Farr, aye.
Troy Castalis abstained, because prior to my involvement on the board.
Nicole Pantley, aye.
Sylvia Borman, aye.
Amy Ashton Williams, aye.
And Molly Jansen, aye. So we have one abstention, no nays, so the motion passes. And that is the entire CPC motion list. So that's all I.
All right.
Right now.
Okay.
Are you doing licensing exam continuing ed? Okay, perfect.
All right, so for Lori Forbes, we approved a semi-retired request. And we had a question, like in our rules, it says that a person has to work for 20 years before they're able to put in a semi-retired request. And I don't know if that's something that would be good to look at later. There could be like many other kind of reasons besides working 20 years that a person can go into semi-retirement. For a previous hours request, we approved LCSW applicants Sarah Hires, Samantha Kaiser, Jessica Geoffrey, Michaela Lavelle, Morgan Neary, Christina Floyd, Kit O'Boyle, Ryan Kretschmer, Althea Miller. For a discussion, we talked about we got a negative supervision review that didn't raise to the to like an ethics complaint.
On one of the people from the list that you
No,
talked about?
no,
Separate?
it's a separate.
Can I ask about something from the
Yeah.
list before you
Yeah,
move
yeah.
on then? I just, I haven't been on that committee for a long time. And, so I want to make sure I'm looking at the or understanding the document
Mhm.
correctly. So when it says difference in required experience hours,
Mhm.
I'm going to use Kit O'Boyle as an example. So she's currently licensed in Colorado, is that correct?
Mhm.
But Colorado only requires 1,600 of direct hours?
That's, yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, the rule is in there too, highlighted.
Yeah, there was just a lot of highlights. So
Yeah,
I'm sure
there's
that's
a lot in
like, there's
there.
a lot in here. and I wasn't sure. And so, okay, so I'm curious, is there any discussion at all around like how long somebody had been like licensed in Colorado? Because it's literally half the required hours that Oregon has for
No,
direct
it's
service.
the half of, well, we do 2,000. and she did
2,000. Okay. So I guess I was just wondering what kind of conversations happen around like, does it take like consideration, like they've been licensed for 5 years? Like, it's not even a
Yeah.
discussion or like they just got licensed in Colorado yesterday, right? And is that part of it?
So these people, so if someone has been licensed for at least 5 of the last 10 years, then they can just sign an affidavit that they've substantially met Oregon's requirements or the requirements to Oregon's. And these people don't meet that. So they're required to submit their actual hours.
Mhm.
So they are relatively recently licensed people in these other states.
Okay.
But they've met the requirements and,
In their state.
yeah.
Yeah.
And, one of the things that we discussed was, like having access to like the LCSW license in Oregon. Without like a reciprocity, we can continue to like have, board oversight over LCSWs.
Mhm.
Which, I personally feel like is preferable. And if the requirements are met in another state,
So it's
Wouldn't
kind of,
say
if they've met the if they're licensed in another state, you're gonna automatically grant that then
mhm.
regardless.
But do you have concerns with that?
I just want to understand the conversations that are happening. That's all. Thank you.
Um. So discussion topic on Ann Treviso, who turned in an hours for her license, towards her license. And in her supervision report from the new supervisor, the entire report was just like a negative review of her. And so we had some discussion, nothing that rose to an ethics complaint. But it did get us to talk about like the importance of like the narrative review. And we looked at the California license, which is and their requirements for submission to the board, which has no narrative review. But instead just like requires that the I think there are LMSW there and the supervisor submit the reports and sign off together, and that the LMSW submit a W-2. Yeah, and this is actually going to go into our next discussion topic as well. So this is like an interesting requirement.
Which submission form, just out of curiosity, did they use? The old one or the more updated one for the 6-month? review?
Their 6-month review.
Okay. Sorry, my box, my
One of
down
the,
again, so. I
Are you
can't-
proposing that we change something?
well,
Because we would need the reference.
oh, yeah. And another part of this discussion that we had as well was the amount of time it takes the board to read through every single supervision because of the narrative sections, and where it's not in our rules. And it made us wonder, like, what is like the real importance of this narrative section of the.
On the old form.
Mhm. And but also on the new form, because it does create a substantial amount of work for Cassie. And it's not used for our licensing. Where if for instance, like,
Do we have the new form in there?
Yeah.
Yep, we did.
Yeah, the new form,
I'm struggling to get online.
It looks weird in box, like you have to open it At least on my end, when I looked at it in box models,
Yeah.
it doesn't have the like fillable fields. You have to like download it. So I don't know if it'll look like that on your laptop too.
Like this is this is like one of the main tasks that Cassie has to perform is reading through
Can you
these.
scroll at the bottom?
And so like it seems like an inefficiency on our part when we're having so
Oh, no,
many
not at all.
licensees
So there you go.
and so much more work with like still like a
It's gonna
A
take
staff that hasn't
Get it
increased.
back. There we go. Okay.
I want to see this part right here.
Okay.
Okay,
And it'll pull down.
so
Yeah, there are for sure 3 spots where the supervisor would need to,
Mhm. I guess like
share that.
what's the purpose though for Cassie to have to read through all
she
of this?
doesn't have to read through the whole thing. She needs to read question number 13. I have no concerns. Yes, I have concerns and
Right.
discuss my concerns with the supervisee, or yes, I have concerns and have not discussed it. Really, it's just concerns. She doesn't need to read through all of it. It's not the intention. It was never the intention for one of the board staff members to read every single 6-month eval.
Exactly.
It was to be more intentional around the accountability and the responsibility that supervisors have regarding moving their folks towards licensure and what does it really mean when you're signing off on this person being ready. And to have it be more of a two-way street for feedback as well. So it's also a place where supervisees can talk about, are they getting what they need? And for it to be more strength-based because the old one was pretty
Right, yeah, this
deficit-based.
was one of the big points that we made with this one negative review. It was all just negative, where usually people are strengths-based.
Yeah, but the questions are kind of negative. The prompts in the old one were, which is, we've known that for a long time, but it was never the intention ever or the expectation that a staff member was going to be reviewing all of them. That is not efficient. It was just the ones where like there's concerns that,
Right.
and then those would be, and this is where, right? If Ventia worked the way we wanted
Right,
it to,
exactly.
the idea would be when that gets clicked on, then it triggers some kind of report or ping to the staff person, like, oh, there's the one that you actually need to go look at.
Yeah.
And then is there something that needs to happen? But the majority that are going to come in,
Mhm.
they're going to
Cassie, I'm
click.
so
no.
glad you're here.
Mhm.
I came
Right.
in just for this. Yeah.
So what everybody's saying, or what Amy's saying, Molly's saying, is that you don't have to read any reports.
I heard that, yes.
Just if there's a concern,
Right.
that's it.
Yeah, it's
Isn't it-
still, my concern with the report though itself.
Which one?
Going to the
old
5,
one or the new one?
the one going to 5 pages versus 2, that's a bigger file type. And the state processing on the computers is not great.
So this was developed with the assumption that we were supposed to have a portal where it would be entered into there. Now, we don't have that because the
Yeah.
portal sucks.
Yeah.
But it was created with the conversation expectation that there was going to be a transition.
Mhm.
So again, it would be much more automated and all that would happen is when someone clicked on the I have concerns, that would trigger something to the staff then of like, there's one that you might want to look at.
So do we not want to put it out until it's built into a system? Since it will take longer to
I think we should.
Well,
review?
so specifically let's talk about the specific issue. So specifically what will take longer? What is the task itself that's going to make it take longer? Which task are we talking about?
So what's going to make it take longer is the processing on the computer, opening up a file. Already, most CSWAs have more than one supervisor. So I'm reviewing at least 2 to 3 reports for thousands of CSWAs every 6 months. So every time I open those, just right now, it takes a little bit to open the PDFs on any of ours. And this file is going to be 2.5 times larger than the file size of our current report.
And that seems like a huge inefficiency for the board. That costs a lot of money for also like information that I don't know that is really like very relevant.
It's not very relevant.
Mhm.
It depends on the bandwidth.
I mean,
What do you mean when you say that?
Well, because I think like, and this goes back to, so this discussion about bias. And I think like, for instance, in the negative review that we read, it seemed like there was bias in the review. And I think that like bias does go through supervision. So like when a supervisor reports, and I get the intention that this is supposed to be more strength-based. But when a supervisor reports a narrative, then like there's more opportunity for bias than when it's just a purely like just quantities that are signed off by both. And on top of it, it creates like a huge inefficiency for Cassie that costs the board a lot of money.
I'm hearing
when
you say
Cassie-
two things. I want
So,
that
yeah,
we
these are
should
two separate
delay,
issues.
that we should delay making the change and that we shouldn't use the new one anyway,
I mean, I
because
think,
it's problematic. Is that what I'm hearing?
I think maybe like just having narrative reviews at all, the old one is also problematic. And like if we had a system that just counted, that Cassie was just being able to like open up and be like, numbers, enter, like she could get that done so much faster.
So, and so something like that, so that's an in-office efficiency. And that's why I asked the question, because if what you're proposing is that there's some information that can be that can be more easily accessible to the person that processes the document, then we can do that in-house.
And
That's not a
there's the
problem.
benefit that the narrative section like leaves the door open for bias of the supervisor. Where if, and this is something California is already doing it this way. If the supervision, if there's,
California is doing.
but if there's no narrative section, like I'm not saying that a supervisor shouldn't be completing these things. But if there's no narrative section, then we eliminate that potential for bias within the reports.
But then isn't it just replaced with the number scale?
But
It's like a number scale
oh, no,
bias.
the number
instead
scale
of
would just be the number of hours completed.
So basically,
Oh,
all
you
you're
want to get
doing
rid
is
of the
hours.
1 through
Yeah.
4 as well.
Yeah. So it would just be like the hours completed. And that would be, I mean, like that's something that would be easily automated as well. And if there's no ethics complaint, then like there isn't something that's raised to the level that the licensing committee would even be like concerned about. And if there was the ethics complaint, it would go to CPC.
But I don't think it's that black and white when you're a CSWA. I mean, I had
My-
supervisees who crossed certain lines. And it wasn't like, oh, now you can't be a social worker. It's like, we've got some work to do.
Mhm.
But it's important to document that in case down the road, they're still doing that crap later. Like I needed to document what the concern was and make sure that we were then, documenting progress around that as well.
And I mean, like that is the job of a
I didn't mean to
supervisor, and
interrupt you.
a good
Sorry.
supervisor would do that, just like a good therapist would document progress, right? And we know that like not all therapists document progress either.
I mean, as a current CSWA, I find and apologies for how long it takes you to open. I too have 2 supervisors. But it's like I take the supervision report and like the narrative section like really seriously. Like that really matters to me, that I am like tracking what I'm doing, and like stuff has happened in the last 6 months that was like a huge like learning stuff or like learning opportunity and stuff like that. And so it
Like an
reminds
opportunity
me,
to reflect that
Yeah.
maybe isn't always built in.
yeah, like that reflection, because I think it's really, or just speaking for me, like
Yeah.
it's easy to get lost. Okay, I saw this person, gotta make sure I get my note in, the biller can do their thing, and like there's a bit of it that like gets just kind of automated, and there's not really time in my schedule at least to like sit and really reflect in that way, and the supervision report offers that. And I like I like feedback. I like hearing like what's going well in that. And so, yeah, I just like a different perspective on like how I and maybe others. Well, I would assume that it would be at least one other person that would approach the supervision report as like, this is for, I look at it as for me, like self-grading. I'm like, how am I doing? What's going on? And that's important.
And then how does it feel to know that like all of that is just going into,
It's still for me.
right? So then in that case, what's the importance of the board having?
So, yeah, I want to, so under our definitions, 877-001-006, clinical supervision means an interactional professional relationship between a supervisor and a social worker that provides evaluation and direction over a supervisee's practice of clinical social work and promotes continued development of the social worker's knowledge, skills, and abilities to engage in the practice of clinical social work in an ethical and competent manner. That's the definition of clinical supervision. I mean, so if you're proposing something other than that, that's a rule change, and as a board member, you can propose that.
Oh, I'm not,
But,
I'm not
you know, that's-
proposing anything different. Like, I think and even I recognize that like the idea is behind the new form that it's going to improve the quality of supervision. Like, I understand how like why that would come forward in this way. And I see that it's creating like potential injection of bias into the reporting and a lot of extra work for Cassie and an
Well, so
inefficiency for the board.
on the extra work end, that's something that I can take care of directly. That's an inter-office efficiency, and that's what I do. So that doesn't necessarily have to come before this board. You guys can talk about the concepts and all of that. But if it's an inter-office efficiency, you can bring that to me and I can take care of that outside of this meeting.
I'm not convinced it actually will change the quality. That's not necessarily the goal, but part of the goal is the reason some of those questions are asked on the second one was it's a message to supervisors too, like talk about these things because it is a dangerous assumption that supervisors are doing all the same thing across the board. And for many of them, this is literally the only documentation they're doing. They're not keeping notes. I know that. So that's why it was made longer, but more intentional around like, what do we want to try to create consistency? Even if literally the only time they're talking about some of these prompts is when they fill it out, maybe, but the message is meant to be, here's the expectation of things that you should be talking about regularly in supervision. And I think if we don't have something like that, it's going to be even more of a free for all.
What would you think if we had two separate documents, one for hours and one for the narrative report? Because I mean, like because
Sounds like more PDFs.
no, I mean like then, because you don't have to look at the narrative report. That's
Well,
what I
we
hear
do if
all
there's an
saying.
issue. The only thing she had to look at was the one, like, there's a concern. I mean, honestly, the only reason we're having this conversation is because we're stuck with Centia.
For now.
Right, but it's been years. And that's been really frustrating because it's not user friendly for anybody. Thank you. I'm making a mess. Trying to clean it up.
I also want to say, like, as a board, like, I don't know how much time we want to spend on this because
Right.
we
got-
also want to talk about alternative pathways. And so
Yeah.
if you guys are saying, no, we want to spend our time talking about this, then sure, like, make that decision and we'll cut alternative pathways down to 5 minutes.
I want to recognize though that like as long as this is happening, then like this is affecting Cassie on a daily basis. And so like whatever we do, like this is like making a decision about what Cassie does every day.
Well, and keep in mind, so once again, I want to reemphasize, so the staffing of the board, that falls under the executive director. And so if there's an issue that the board has with how the resources of the internally are allocated, that's something that you bring directly to me and then we work together towards that. So me, you and I, we can talk about how to allocate Cassie's time and let's meet after this board meeting and talk.
Okay, so in addition, so discussion topic about independent contractor who brought forward the idea of like hiring CSWAs as private contractors, signing a 1099.
Yep.
And this is actually comes back to the W-2 with California, where California requires social workers who are being licensed to submit a W-2. And what that means is that they are an employee of the organization. Where right now,
Yeah, our rule doesn't require that.
Well,
but we could,
rule does require that a person that a CSWA is an employee.
yeah. And I mean, we could ask for
Rule
that
does require
as evidence of being an employee.
Wait, what?
Ask for
What's the
W2
proposal
as-
again?
Ask for a W-2 as evidence of being an employee of an agency.
Kyle, we talked about this before.
Like we
Yeah,
go round and round about this.
Tax information like that would be
Yeah.
a little bit problematic. I would rather have you do it through some sort of attestation or process in applying rather than through asking for actual tax information.
But
But
how-
once the board obtains that, there's a whole different set of requirements that applies to that. As well as I could see that type of information being objected to in regards to that. In other words, why do you need my W-2? I will certify I'm an employee, or the employer will certify I'm an employee, that type of thing. So I'm just telling you that asking for tax information becomes problematic. So I would recommend going along that. In regards to somebody being an employee, I mean, that obviously can be done through other ways to obtain that certification information. And if they misrepresent it, then obviously there's a basis for the board to take action against the LCSW. The board doesn't regulate, obviously.
Exactly.
Agencies and employers. So you have to keep that in mind,
Absolutely.
that you're creating a potential to take action against the LCSW, the licensee, or the CSWA, who may or may not be the one who is responsible for the conduct. If you wanted to be able to regulate agencies directly, you need to go to the legislature.
Right. Yeah, we don't do that.
There are professions that do regulate businesses as well as licensees. But a lot of professions are like, or regulatory boards are like this, that they regulate the licensee because they're the one providing the service.
So if you're an independent contractor, we've talked about this with some other,
It's so confusing.
then that's still allowable, right? Under
Right. So the way that would work is a person has to be an employee in order to qualify to get a clinical social work associate certificate. Now, once they qualify to have that clinical social work associate certificate, outside of that, they can do whatever. They can operate as an independent contractor, but those hours that they accumulate as an independent contractor do not work towards their hours for licensure.
Oh, except for like mindful therapy, for instance, is an example.
Well, right, no, mindful therapy is not exempt.
We have CSWAs who are attached to mindful therapy right now.
Right. And so that's something that we're working on internally, because as Kyle was saying, we regulate social workers, not organizations.
Yeah.
So we don't have the authority to go after mindful therapy. What we can do and what we do is when a CSWA applies for a CSWA certificate and they have to put in their plan of supervision and their place of practice, if we see something in there that looks as if a person is something other than a W-2 employee, we work directly with that individual. But we don't have authority to do anything with mindful therapy at this time. We have we have authority over social workers. And so that's who we respond to.
So really that attestation of,
Well, that would be my recommendation. I wouldn't ask for any sort of tax information unless you had reasons to question and you're doing an investigation and had to confirm that. But I wouldn't ask for that as a routine process.
And also, this came up because one of the people submitted a request to hire CSWAs
Right.
as 1099s and submitted the contract, and in the contract,
Okay. They submitted to the board to do that?
yeah, it was in this discussion topic 3,
Yeah.
independent
Yeah.
contractors. They submitted the request.
Yeah.
You still have them over there?
Yes, so Ray, I think you're thinking about independent practice. So a contractor, we're talking about the contractor who contracts for an agency because we have lots of those. And so we have allowed those and we allow those hours to count as a contractor. So that's why we're bringing it to the board, seeing if a 1099 and
Well,
contractor.
Yeah, that
As an employee.
Well,
absolutely needs to
I
come to the
don't
board.
recall that there's a requirement that they be employees. I recall there's a requirement that they have to be working in an agency.
Right.
And you can work in an agency either as an independent contractor or an employee.
But under the agency definition, and let me pull that up.
Yeah.
And the agency
For this
definition, it
specific
specifically says employee right in the agency definition.
Yeah, it's a good question.
Find that. Okay.
A
Twitching.
form of that. It's not that specifically.
I didn't.
We just looked it up earlier.
Okay, yeah, pull that up.
Oh, it is through its employee.
It's employees
It says
right there,
it's employees, but
right
it doesn't
there
say
in the definition.
CSWA.
Yeah,
So
So aren't contractors legally independent, right? And but a CSWA would be practicing independently, like,
They would be responsible for having their own supervision is what he's proposing.
Okay.
This is what a lot of these places do.
Mhm.
does it have a
They
direct?
provide the
conflict of
administrative support, but not the clinical.
Mhm.
Okay, and then so they have to have their own, but does that create a,
what do you mean?
like,
It's a
That's her question.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
if they have to be employees of an agency or whatever, and I'm not using
By
the word
definition.
today,
Yes, you're right. I
but the
will.
contract that they sign says I am not an employee. At no time am I considered an employee of this organization. Are they
Right.
an employee or not? Or like, do the hours count or not?
And they
Like, how
count
does
their
that
hours.
work?
Yeah.
It sounds like this conversation has happened before, but that's what we.
1,000
But
So confusing.
yeah, I
I'm
don't understand why
And
we.
it's confusing in part because these entities are trying to work around the laws.
Yep.
I'm sharing my experience working for one of these for a brief time, how predatory it felt.
Yep.
And all of those things,
Yeah.
and I was like, you're not doing this to, in the
No.
framing, they said, so I'm doing this to support
Right.
people. I'm like, you're not
No.
doing it, you're doing it so you don't have to pay business taxes on
Exactly.
these employees.
Yes.
And he's gonna take a chunk of their profit.
And he's
Like,
gonna take
it's
half of
easy
their
money for
profit.
him.
Yeah.
Totally.
I feel like this is like such a big issue
Yeah.
that we should have like a committee just tackle this. Because it's like, I mean, like, we're never gonna have enough board time to like
To
really,
decide, a committee to determine
to make a
a
recommendation.
final determination, or whatever the words would be,
Uh-huh.
of is 1099 considered an
Yeah.
employee or not?
Mhm.
Well, that's simply a tax designation.
Hmm.
And it's true that a 1099 is for an independent contractor, but that's for tax purposes.
Mhm.
That's one of the things to keep in mind. But the one thing here is that being an employee matters for purposes.
No, anything that comes to a committee.
So they could be an independent contractor, but wouldn't be working for an agency. So they have to be working for some other agency in order to be able to meet the requirements for
Mhm.
licensure. Because you have to work for an agency as a CSWA.
You create your own agency.
So.
Yeah, that's what he said. You make.
No, you can't
require
do that.
everyone to make an LLC,
Yes.
and then they submit.
Yes.
Yeah.
So if they
So
create,
the agency can be your own agency?
it meets the requirements of what the agency definition is, then it could be an agency.
So it is possible
It is.
for a CSWA to work as a CSWA and fit within the rules.
Yeah.
Most of the population in the United States do not have the skills to be able to do that, but it is possible.
is there the spirit of things? Like when I think of why CSWAs are employees, is that they get proper supervision, is that they're taught how to comply with OARs, that there's legal protections for both the employer and the CSWA, right? And then ethical and patient-centered care. And is that getting lost in this?
It is. Well, again, in my experience, I was not being assigned cases. I was fighting with other associates and interns in like a shared email inbox to try to like be the first person to grab referrals. I had 4 total clinical hours for the first 6-month report that I was licensed for. I think it was like 4 months of work time. My current supervisor keeps being like, when are you sitting for your exam? Haven't you been licensed for a while? I was like, yeah, but I didn't really work for the first almost year. So now it's going to take me like the 5 years to get licensed, which you're paid lower at CSWA.
Mhm.
And yeah, so there's all of these things where like on paper, sure. And maybe that's all we get to rely on is like, well, it says they're an employee. Technically, that's just tax status, doesn't matter. They can sign up to do whatever they want. But like working as an independent contractor is framed as you get to have your own business, you get to like set
Oh,
your
yeah.
own hours, you
Oh, I
get to do
know.
all this stuff. But really the it's just like a different side of like a community mental health coin. Like there are extremes of like, yeah. So I feel very strongly that that should not be allowed. I'm sure there are places where it's not as predatory, but actually I don't know that to be true.
Mhm.
I actually would assume that that is not ever the case. But yeah, so I don't know what we do with that, but yeah, that's the conversation we had. It sounds like it's.
Right, that conversation has been had multiple times. And in order to be compliant to rule, a CSWA, in order to even hold the CSWA certificate, has to be an employee in an agency that fits the state definition of an agency.
So the bigger
Period.
question is it an agency?
Well, employee and it's in the same definition. So we can pull up actually Kyle had the rule up and
It's a 7001-006.
there you go. So you can pull that rule up and
He
take a
might
look
be
at
an
it.
agency, but if he doesn't want to call them employees, then it doesn't matter.
Specifically does not want to call them
Then they
employees,
can't take-
specifically does not offer
Okay, So
supervision.
once again, if the person is not an employee in an agency that fits the agency definition, they have not fulfilled the requirements of the clinical social work associate certificate. Period. That's the end of that discussion.
And our conversation is with the CSWA, not
Right.
just the
We
company.
don't talk about agencies. Agencies shouldn't be petitioning us for anything because we don't regulate agencies. We regulate, and so our answer should have been, we don't regulate agencies. We regulate clinical social work associates. And then when that application comes to us and they're being asked to be a W-2 or to be asked to be anything other than an employee in that organization, then we deny that application because they have to be an employee in an agency that fits the agency definition. That's how that should have gone.
And, like if we could just sit and have this conversation again, or we could, I mean, if we want to bring that forward to another board meeting where we're like, everybody do your homework, come, let's be prepared, like we
Exactly.
we could do that.
Okay, I really want to like move along with this, and this is why I proposed that like maybe we could like make a committee on this or something, because this is, or maybe it could be in the newsletter, like there could be like a piece on this.
Did we do that a while ago?
Mm,
A little bit?
I don't know that we put that, not the independent contractor thing,
Making
no,
sure folks
but we
are
can,
informed as
absolutely.
well.
Give us a heads up. Don't get caught. Don't get caught in a situation where you spent money, spent time, only to find out that
Mhm.
months later, when you turn something in, none of it's going to count.
Mhm.
Because in your situation, while you may have been doing appropriate work, you were not in a situation where you deemed to be an
Yeah.
employee under an agency as defined by statute.
Mhm. Perfect. Yeah, and we can do that. What we typically like, so as staff, we monitor like the calls and the scenarios that we encounter through the application process for barriers that a person might encounter as part of applications. And as we notice scenarios that tend to trend, then that's what we send out to in our emails to our distribution list. But yeah, this is definitely a good subject that we can put in and send out in our intermittent.
I share your concern is that we don't want people getting down the line and all of a sudden being out of compliance and
Mhm.
for something that they didn't realize was that technical.
Yeah.
So, sorry, maybe I'm catching up here. I didn't review the education license
yeah.
stuff, but if you're looking at responding to this email that was sent about this, that's not an area the board should be responding to.
Exactly.
The only thing the board should be doing is saying, then the CSWA has to work for an agency. Here's the definition of agency.
Yes.
We can't provide you any suggestions as to how you structure your business.
Yep.
So,
And that should have been the response. Yeah.
So it never should have come to them. It's-
That should have-
well, I understand why he's asking, but it's not something we can respond to him about. We can't advise him
Yeah.
about how he structures his business. All we can advise him, or actually tell him what the law is.
Do we
What the requirements
approve the plan? I mean, do we ask him how he fits as an agency or?
Well, when the
It depends.
when the application for the CSWA comes,
Yes.
then you would say we're going to deny that or propose to deny it because you're not working for an agency.
So the-
You don't meet the qualifications. And if they don't want to withdraw their application, then we would have to deny them through the process.
So the only thing the board can really do is say, give them the definition of what an employee is, right? And state,
Agency.
an agency is, sorry, an agency is, and state that, you know, we don't do this part, like here.
We
here's-
can't, yeah.
Yeah, we don't
respond
tell
to-
you how to run your business,
That's right.
but here is the definition of what an agency is
Right.
for a CSWA.
And if you get a CSWA application that does not show they're working for an agency, then the board should indicate that, you know, you do not qualify. Do you want to withdraw your application? If not, then we're going to have to go down the denial process.
But that wouldn't go in the email to this individual
No,
because,
not to this, no, that would be.
well, I know that. I know you're saying that, Kyle. I'm just solidifying that fact. So the email to this individual, like Kyle pointed out, should be short and sweet. Board of Licensed Social Workers regulate social workers, not agencies. We can't give you advice on your business structure. Here is the rule that dictates what the requirements for a clinical social work associate certificate. Have a nice day.
I appreciate this time so much because I think it's also gonna really help help our staff, right?
I agree.
Anything else
Okay.
on committee reports?
Just go through the continuing education. So, for Dina Schreiner, we approved 10 hours for assist applied suicide intervention skills training. For Guy Bernstein, we approved 8 hours of general and 2 hours of ethics for group therapy training. For John Castor, we approved 1 hour for working with neurodivergent clients. For Kristen Brown, we approved 10 hours for the integration of physical health, substance use services, and mental health care learning collaborative. For Leilong Liu, we didn't actually have to approve the 6 hours because it was in-service training, so we'll send her a note explaining the rule on in-service trainings.
What's the rule on service training?
Any training that's completed with an agency that you're an employee of is automatically approved as continuing education by the board. Yeah, it is. And nobody knows this. We should have an article about this too.
That's interesting. 'Cause honestly, when I read that,
Up to half of the CE can be counted.
Oh,
In-service agency-sponsored programs.
20.
So meet the requirements.
any training that you do as a part of your employment
Mhm.
is automatically counted.
Up to half of your CE, as long as it meets the requirements in subsection
Yeah.
2 of,
I know, we should have an
which
article
is the
about this.
conference seminar book, article or work.
That is-
That was too, because when we were first looking at it, I was like.
Yeah.
Oh, so it has to be over 2 hours. I didn't, they're like,
Yes.
through the agenda and stuff.
Right.
They would give 2
Yeah,
hours.
it can't be like, how do you use your
service or like.
It has to basically be like any other type of accessible continuing education course. It's just, it's not approved by anyone, but it's offered.
So like any suicide intervention training.
Mm.
We all do tons
We
of.
should put that in the newsletter.
Honestly, that felt like a PR company, not a training.
That's what I
I
said.
would have not approved it if it was me. I'm like, look at how great.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is not a training. It was like a PR campaign. Yucky. You're like, no.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, I guess I don't get to veto that because it's in the law. So.
Met criteria.
Yeah.
Okay, so I just did. Okay, so Melanie Berry, we approved 1 hour for creating circles of care, responding to client death. For Philip Quib, we approved 7 hours for breaking the cycle of substance misuse and family impact. For Raquel Becerra, we approved 6 hours of cultural competence out of 20 hours that were already approved. For
Approved through NASW.
yeah, they were NASW and then, but she asked for 6 of those 20 hours to be cultural competence and looking at the curriculum, we agreed with that. So Sarah Satter, we approved 10 hours for autumn introductory, a foundation course in art therapy. For Catherine Lowry Woods, we approved a new study group for up to 20 hours of CEUs. And for Kathleen Goldberg, we approved 10 hours for core energetics training.
What's the limit? How many people can be in a study group?
It needs to be a minimum of 5 mental health professionals and a maximum of 10.
That's 9, including her.
And
Just couldn't remember.
one note on John Castor's staff report indicated that there were ethics hours involved, and that was not actually the case.
Oh, yeah, that was an error.
Oh, yeah. Also on the And also, yeah, John had not asked for that. It was-
What do you mean?
Look at stuff.
Nothing. Yeah, no, it's mine.
Yeah,
It's
just- yeah.
not like your Wi-Fi.
Yeah, let me know what you need. No problem.
Do we have any special, Kim, I'm looking at you. Do we have any special reviews?
No, the only thing was the independent contractor thing that we already covered it, so.
We are at the point again in our board meeting for public comment, and it looks like Brittany, I see that you put something in the chat and just wondering if you wanted to talk about that in public comment.
No, you guys were talking about pulling data of addresses and I just wasn't sure if it was aware, like people were aware of how like widespread that is for
Yeah.
telehealth professionals. So I'm a data person, so I just want to
Okay,
keep that in
thank you.
mind.
Thank you, Brittany.
Was there anything else that you wanted to share during this time, Brittany? But I do appreciate the comments.
No, I'm just here.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so next on the agenda is old business. It's one, oh,
Yeah, no, I think you're already going. I was gonna ask about how long the training is and what time we wanted to adjourn and then we'll work backwards from there. Go ahead. So,
no, Kim and I had chatted. I'm not sure if you were here because I think the training takes us
about now.
about an hour,
Yes.
45 minutes.
Oh.
Hour 45?
Oh, no, an hour, 45 minutes or an hour.
Oh, I was going to say, wow.
I said it back. So 45 minutes to an hour.
Right, exactly.
What time do we want to start that training? Meaning like, if the goal is for us to be out of here by 3, then we would need to start the training by 2:15. That will kind of dictate how we move forward.
I have a 5-hour drive home.
That's rough, Nikki.
Okay. And we definitely have, so we can talk about alternative pathways, the 6-month report. And I know we do have to get to the new business because there's maybe possibly a vote there that has to happen. Consent agenda.
Yeah.
So if we can dedicate the next 30 minutes.
So I think that one thing on the agenda is an absolute must. That needs to be closed today.
12B.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's a priority.
Can I ask a technical question, Kyle?
Of course.
Oh, can we do 12 and then come back to 11?
There's no reason you could not do that. If
Oh.
that's necessary, sure.
All right, because I would like, that might be helpful in the old business discussion. If you guys are okay, if we could jump to 12 and talk about the board committee appointees and then the advisory committee.
Sure.
So 12A, I think just on record, I need to be able to say who is been appointed to which committees. Am I right?
Well, you need
Yes.
you need delegated authority from the board to be, go ahead.
For board committees, she already has that authority in rule. It's the advisory committees that she does not have the authority to appoint.
Oh, understood. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So for the board.
Thank you, Kim. I apologize.
committees, for the licensing examination committee is Olivia, Patty, and Troy. And then for the continuing education committee, Olivia, Patty, and Troy.
Okay.
And then for CPC would be myself, Nicole, and Molly. Does that sound accurate? And that's who's been appointed to those committees. Okay. On record?
On.
Okay, lovely. And the next,
Well, so Kyle, are we compliant now?
Yes, that's adequate.
for 12B, we currently have a rules advisory committee, but I believe that it needs right now, it would need full board approval for any advisory committee members to hold that title.
To be appointed, right, to be appointed to the committee.
To be appointed, we as a full
The board
board
has.
would have to approve. What's being
Proposed.
proposed is that if the board would allow myself as the chair, if you would give me that responsibility, then
Delegate
I
authority.
could appoint them to be a Rules Advisory Council member. Yes?
Rules Advisory Committee member. And the Rules Advisory Committee is a committee that obviously is necessary for doing rulemaking.
Yes.
Who's usually on that? Like, are they board members or community members?
It used to be that the board had a standing Rules Advisory Committee.
Uh-huh.
And so they appointed it. The law changed a few years ago, and it requires Rules Advisory Committee to be member or membership of stakeholders or members of the community that would be affected by the proposed rulemaking. So essentially, the board has to look at doing different Rules Advisory Committee now, depending upon the rules. For example, if you were looking at proposing amendments to rules that just involve LCSWs, then you simply need to have LCSWs. If you're looking at doing rules that would affect like every licensure form that the board does, CSWAs, LMSWs, LCSWs, RBSWs, you need to have representation on it for that. If you're looking at doing something that would affect applicants, you need to have somebody who could represent applicants. And so the board can't simply use its standing Rules Advisory Committee like it had in the past. And the board hasn't really done rulemaking that's reached the point that this has become a potential issue. But you're looking at doing a fee increase, and a fee increase is something where we need to make sure that everything is done correctly, not that it wouldn't be. And part of that process is having a Rules Advisory Committee that would represent all the potential folks that would be affected by those proposed rules that would increase the fees. Does that make sense? And right now, the board has not delegated that authority to anyone, so the board would have to vote to do that. But it is something that the board could delegate the authority to, like it does now through rulemaking for the chair to make appointments to the board committees that it can.
And the reason we're asking that is because we do have an active Rules Advisory Committee moving. I didn't realize we were moving through the process. And of course, Kyle informed me that we couldn't continue with the process because the full board hadn't appointed each member of the Rules Advisory Committee, nor had the board given that authority to an individual to do. So if you all want to be able to select appoint each person, you all can have that authority. But every single time a person is appointed to the advisory committee, I'd have to bring them to this board, and then you all would have to select that person. That's gonna really, really stretch out the process. But if it was delegated to one person to do the appointments, that would streamline.
And the other thing I would add is the Rules Advisory Committee makes recommendations. It doesn't make
Exactly.
final decisions.
Yep.
So it's simply going to make recommendations on the proposed rulemaking that then come to the board.
Right.
And I think we don't, based on the rules that we're currently looking at, we don't have proper representation. So we're going to need to go solicit to
All right. Yeah.
have others.
My understanding is that we're going to convene an advisory committee that will have every.
Yes, absolutely.
And so that's why we're doing this.
That's why we're doing this, right?
Gotcha. Okay.
Like as a
That's why we
whole,
request.
it would have like one of each license type. one of
Yes.
each da, 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 da. So whatever the rule is, it
Yes.
fits.
Representation would be there already.
Right.
Got it.
And so, and just well, you all know that there's already a Rules Advisory Committee that the board has already requested rule changes. And so I started the Rules Advisory Committee for those rule changes. And so the Rules Advisory Committee can't move forward any farther until all of those committee members are appointed. And then we have, of course, we'll make sure that we have representation for each class, each license type in that Rules Advisory Committee. So,
Okay. So this
and then it comes back to the board. I'm sorry.
This is an action item. So this,
Yes.
there would have to be a vote, a
Yep.
board vote.
A
Absolutely.
motion.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it would be making a motion to delegate the board chair as the person to make appointments to the advisory committee.
Yeah, it would be a motion to delegate to the chair the authority to appoint the members of Rules Advisory Committees as needed.
Copy paste.
Yeah, write that down, please. Or at least here, say that again so I can write it down. Because I know it has to be formal.
Yeah, delegating to the board chair the authority to appoint
I make a
members
motion to delegate to the board chair the authority to appoint members
of the board's rules advisory
It's Rule Advisory Committee
as needed.
as needed.
Thank you, Olivia.
That was interesting.
Well, instead of writing it down. I can just repeat after you.
no.
Like hearing that echo, you know, when you're on the phone.
We have a motion.
Yeah. I was gonna say, next time, most people just say so moved and go forward.
Oh, that's.
Nice. That's a good hack. Yes. Second. Oh,
Is there a second?
I second.
Name and second.
Patty Farr, I second.
Not all those in favor. Let's do roll call.
Okay.
Patty Farr, aye.
Troy Castellas, aye.
Oh, Bentley, aye.
Olivia Borman, aye.
Molly Jansen,
Amy Ashton Williams, aye.
Okay.
Well, I like the echo, so.
You can do it again.
If we want to move on to old business. First on the agenda is alternative pathways, and there was those documents in box so that folks had the
Yes.
opportunity to review. And I think what we talked, those of us that have been here for some time have talked about it, and I know we are very interested in our newer board members and hearing your thoughts and ideas and about.
Good question, Troy. Did I send you the 8-page document, Troy, in that email I sent you?
I had access to it as of 9:30 last night.
But it wasn't in the email that I sent. I thought it was. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
but it just, I mean, it's.
Okay, I'm done. Do it, please. Any-
No, so would just, I really do want to open the floor to the newer board members because we have talked so much about this and we are really interested in hearing your voice.
I'd like to highlight a couple of things really quick. So 1.4% of social workers in Oregon, LCSWs are Black, whereas 3.9% of Black social workers are CSWAs, or 3.9% of CSWAs are Black social workers. And like, that means that like more than double the amount, the rate are CSWAs, and meaning like many are like unable to pass the exam. And we don't have exact numbers for how long people have been like sitting with the CSWAs, but there's many people who've been CSWAs for years and years. And the ASWB has like shown that in Oregon, only 66.7% of Black social workers are ever able to pass the clinical exam. This is like a huge disparity compared to for white social workers in Oregon. It's 97.6% pass on their first attempt.
And we have talked about this a lot. I just really want to hear what our new board members have to say because they.
So I think like, I know, but there's like some things that need to be drawn out, I think.
Isn't the information in the report that you're quoting right now?
Yeah, it
Okay,
is.
so then my assumption is they've read it. So we have such limited time. I really want to hear from the folks who have not been heard from at all on this. Unless you've got something that's not in the report.
And also, so when Stacy Harding Chandler was here, and this is in our minutes that we just approved, asked about whether or not, asked about the social work exam and its ability to protect the public. She said that the social work exam is not predictive. And we know that like the reason we've done this social work exam is for protection of the public. If it's not predictive of protection of the public and it's creating these inequities in our field, this is a reason that we need to have something different.
But I think it's important to include that there was a full presentation, and we don't want to take one statement out of an entire presentation and put that out of context.
However,
So you're right, she didn't say that, but that wasn't
also confirmed, like this is shown across the literature. And in fact, just this last month, Advances in Social Work came out with an entire issue on the ASWB exam of many researchers across social work showing this many of the same problems that we're talking about. Like this is something that is a problem in our field that like we need to get our hands around. We need to get it figured out.
Can we hear from other people now? I just know that this has been a point of contention that it's on. You have felt very frustrated that it's on the agenda and we don't have enough time to talk about it. So I really want to hear from other people. Is that everything on your list? Thank you.
I can go. So when I was reading the report and the data and stuff, I was like, okay, what's the problem for clinical social workers? It's like, okay, BIPOC clinicians are not passing the licensing exam at the same rate as white social workers. There is a barrier. There is something that has been demonstrated. Okay, that's the problem. And then the question of, okay, and then how do we fix it? And then there were some recommendations. Provisional licensure, the jurisprudence exam, and abolition. And my understanding of where we keep getting stuck is maybe a push for abolition as the answer and board not approving that. I don't know. I'm still a little not clear what the hang up is, and we don't have to take more time to talk about it now. That was just something that I was thinking about as I was going through this. And a jurisprudence exam to me makes sense as offering as an alternative pathway to licensure. Personally, I support abolition. I know it's not like popular. And one of my concerns with total abolition of the test, of using the test, is what would be the implications for clinical social workers trying to apply for licenses in other states? I don't know what that looks like or what that means.
There are currently in 2 states who don't have the test at all.
So not necessarily a barrier to.
I think so.
Not
that we're aware of.
Okay. When we are even looking for people who are asking for new licenses, is that even a question?
What? You mean coming from other states?
Like, did you take the ASWB exam? Is that a question?
It's a requirement.
It's a requirement? Okay. So then that just, I
Again,
don't know what it would be. But can I
go
finish?
too. Oh, sorry.
Thank you. So that would be, I would wonder like what other states, like thinking about like Washington, California. I know people move other places, but just like West Coast. And if like there are problems with a compact, I'm wondering like, does this produce a barrier for social workers down the line?
Wanting to get licensed somewhere else, meaning?
Yeah. And I don't think we're ever going to come up with a perfect solution that we'll know how it will work out before we get there. But that was one of the things that I was thinking of. And if the question, and I think the jurisprudence exam made a lot of sense to me, because if what we are doing is hoping that through whatever this final test is, that clinicians or licensed social workers will not be causing harm to the public and will be like promoting the health of the public, that they understand the rules of what is like required of them, like that makes sense to me, because even thinking about like the cultural competency piece, like I don't, and again, I haven't seen the test, but I'm just thinking like there's no test that a social worker could take to become licensed that could speak to every type of social work that you would do. And so if the thing we are trying to do is to protect the public, protect the licensed social workers, and like make sure that they have what they need to be doing their work, then a jurisprudence exam makes sense to me to be offered as an alternate pathway to licensure. That's where I landed.
Right. Thanks. CSWAs, do they do the jurisprudence?
Yes,
Yeah.
it is a requirement for everyone.
Okay.
I thought so, but I was like.
Some of the questions that you're talking about are being answered through the compact right now.
Mhm.
And there is like, because like Illinois, Minnesota both have the provisional licensure. And the compact, it looks like they're going to be able to like honor that, even if somebody has done like an alternative pathway.
That is not my understanding. My understanding of the compact language is the requirement to have a compact license is that the person takes a national exam. And the last I heard, if I'm not mistaken, I thought the ASWB when we went down said that they were the ones that I recognized as the national exam. So that's my understanding.
Some of the more recent compact meetings they've been having, this has come up.
Okay.
About, and part of the reason is because like it's going to keep social workers from places like Illinois from being able to join the compact.
Yeah, but that's the current language. So to be clear, because if they propose the compact now, they propose contact with the current language, and the current language does state national exam.
Yeah, and Delmar, I think he pointed out that who formerly was director of Oregon NASW, that it says an exam. Like I don't think it specifies.
Right. It doesn't. Well, it didn't
They're doing
when the
both
first
languages
language came
to,
out.
like, specify that
Exactly.
it's an ASL.
Yep.
So it's a moving target.
Yep.
So it's like, we won't know for sure until it's all in place.
Mhm.
So,
But it's a piece of information.
Mhm.
That's it.
thank you.
Well, I think I've already spoke, about this, and I'm not married to like either or. Where I just come from is that there's no doubt in my mind, there is an inequity. We're seeing it, right? Here's my thing. What I want to know is, and nobody's doing it, is where does it come from? Does it come from the test, or does it come from that some people grow up in ways where they don't learn the same, right? So then they can't, we just don't know, right? We don't know where it's coming from, but there's no doubt it's happening. There's no doubt it's happening. And for me, I don't mind what we choose as long as I know that we're doing what we're supposed to be doing here, right? Which is protecting the public, right? Protecting the social workers and making sure that people who are getting licensed are going out there and not harming people. How do we do that, right? Well, I'm hearing, the ASWB test doesn't necessarily say that. Then there's issues with jurisprudence and extra supervision due to cost, right? And then there's a complete abolition. So all we've really heard is these things, and not one is being picked, really. So are we picking on both of them? Or I'm not even sure what we're picking right now. I don't know what I'm picking.
Well, I think that's where we're at, is discussion.
Yeah.
What are the various potential options, and what do people think about them, and do they feel one way or another about them? We're just really begun kind of to talk about the content and the recommendations at this point. So
yeah, and I see the pros and cons with both, right? One of the things with abolition is if we do that, right? One, have we asked other social workers how they feel about that, right? People who've actually taken the test and done other things. Number two is that how is that going to affect them professionally down the line? Three, how is that going to affect the profession as a whole, right? Things like that. The jurisprudence, right? Extra supervision doesn't really hurt anybody, but when it costs, it's really hard. So doing the jurisprudence and the extra supervision, that can still be a barrier. So I'm not sure where I really don't know where I land on this.
great. That's okay. We just want to hear where you're at.
Hey, Troy, all the stuff that you gathered. since 9:40 last night.
So I would say Director Miller did send at 5:30.
Super
It did include.
I'm for equity, though. I will say that I am for equity. I'm for more people of color of all races being able to enter a field. I'm for that. How we make that happen, I'm there.
And I did listen to conversation in Newport.
Yes.
Did take notes
I
for
forgot.
the part, and it's on the public side compared to things that, and then went back through and looked at as best I could last night, looked at some of the lineage over the last 18 months or so, and that's not quite right window, but there are things that have emerged and gone through. I don't want to duplicate what others have said. So to add to the conversation, the part that I wondered was if now that the ASWB exam has been identified, said, hey, there are some insufficiencies, there's some inequities, the various things that it's been done multiple times by various organizations, not just necessarily opinions, but actually research-based.
Yes.
What is ASWB doing
Mhm.
to address and what's the timeline related to that? And in the April report, didn't see any discussion on that in particular, because I think also it's newer than that. So it's not trying to throw any dirt on any of the authors and people that did the work. It's just that's just a newer part. But that option pops up to me as, are we in a spot of waiting because that national exam now is known that there needs to be an update. I worry about taking on some responsibility ourselves, because it's not simply creating a battery of tests. There's a lot of work to making sure that the test is asked correctly, if that we are covering the areas we need to cover, are the answers following the correct ability for answers. So if there's anything in this that sends work our way where we've got something unique, that raises some red flags for me, just from a time point of view, cost point of view, and having professionals that do question and answer creation side of things. I do appreciate the comment about making out a balance with other parts of the country. You both mentioned that in your conversations about, do we end up putting folks that have come to Oregon as a place of residence, as a place of licensure, now at a disadvantage for other things that they may want to do with their career because they started here and all of a sudden they are lacking in the ability to move forward and take their jingle and go elsewhere, in the country, if not worldwide. I see the swirl. I feel the swirl, because that just trying to read it so fast, and a lot of words are used multiple times that may mean something different, in the various documentations over the last year and a half. And so found myself getting confused, having to go back and try and reread as best I could. I am not giving you an in-depth piece. This is probably about, I would say, 3 to 4 hours, from when I got access to it yesterday at 5. This was one of the things in here that I spent the most time on, solely because I was in the room with you in Newport and heard the conversations. I thought, okay, you all got this other stuff, all part of your business. You know what's going on. I can learn from you today. This is one, though, that is begging for resolution. So I thought I would spend most of my reading time on this one. So that's it. It's not a lot of depth. So
Just comment on what I heard from you. So as far as the possibility of a new test, we don't simply have the resources for that.
Yeah.
So that's kind of off the table. I think you know that already. And then
Do you mean if there was a jurisprudence test instead?
jurisprudence tests already exist.
Okay, that's
so
what
he
I
was
thought.
talking about a knowledge based
Okay,
test,
okay.
right, Troy?
Okay.
And then the other one is as far as like for social worker, if we did create an alternate path and then that creates a place for the social worker to work here but be disadvantaged in other states, then the question would be, would that be okay with that individual? I'm not a social worker, but if I was, like if I had to take a manager certification and the national manager certification is stopping me from working nationally, but I can take one and be able to work in state, I'll cross that bridge some other time and I'd be glad to work in state. And it's voluntary, so I wouldn't have to do that. So anyway, just want to kind of point that out.
So it doesn't necessarily permanently limit them,
Mhm.
right? If that is how it ends up landing with the compact, but someone may need to go through, they may need to do the ASWB test if they want
At
to.
some point.
Right.
Yeah, or even if they want to do telehealth and be, licensed in other states potentially.
And the alternate path will be voluntary. They're not required to do it. If they want a license and they can't pass the exam, there's an alternate path.
Or don't want to take it.
Well, I would add one other quick thing I forgot to mention earlier. A lot of the ethnicity and racial information is all self-reported. And in other parts of my career, we've run up and against issues of where individuals will report more than what really is there and or underreport what is there. And so a lot of times these type of statistics just you've got to go with something. That's the only thing that's really out there, but recognize that at times it's not necessarily in solid bold type. It's got a little bit of gray to it.
Our state statistics support the fact that every single demographic in the state is underrepresented in the social work community.
Yep.
And the exam attributes to that.
Okay. Thank you.
Molly, was there anything?
I don't think so. I think so. Nothing I haven't said before, so I don't want to waste time.
Do we like folks have had a chance to do this? I know Troy, you probably need some more time to digest. Do you feel like we need to have further discussion? Would you, as new board members, like to hear like our thoughts, or are we feeling like we want to continue to move forward and trying to figure out like, what does Oregon's alternative path to licensure look like?
I mean, I would like to know what, like, I would like to get to an alternative pathway to licensure.
It's fine.
Oh.
Just someone come in.
And can you remind me how that happens? Like what the logistics are of that? Is it just like a majority of the board is like, yeah, we're gonna do offer a jurisprudence exam as an alternative pathway?
And then we would have to do rule change.
And then there's a rule change. Okay.
Doctor.
And then is that it? I say, is that it? As if that would happen in like 30 minutes, but
To change the exam requirement is rulemaking, right? So the board has to go through the rulemaking process.
And part of the rulemaking process is those individuals that are impacted need to be on the rulemaking advisory committee. And in turn, there is a moment in time, just like there is with legislation, for the general public and those impacted to be able to give testimony. So the board has to sit and back and listen to the testimony of individuals as to whether they thought it was an appropriate thing to do or not as well.
And I wouldn't want that to be viewed as a barrier, because any change the board is going to make would have to go through the rulemaking process. So that's just an aware step.
Yeah. But just letting you know, it's not.
It's not right. We don't flip a switch. Exactly. Yeah.
There's a purpose of process.
Bureaucracy that
Yeah.
has to be navigated.
Yes. Yeah. And I can manage that.
understand.
I think one of the, and I brought this up previously, is how, like, can we find a way to gather some of that information from social workers now? Like, can we survey social workers now so that we have a good understanding of what social workers think
We have
about
that
this?
We can serve.
Is there already, for the sake of not creating something new, is there already data from people being surveyed about this?
Other
Depends on the
states,
question.
For other states, just nothing for Oregon. Okay.
I want to bring up this
There's
idea
anecdotal.
of the tyranny of the majority. That Black social workers in Oregon are a minority. They're a small minority. They're like just over 5%, 1 out of 20 social workers. And if we survey like all of the social workers, like we're very likely to get like a lot of opinions from social workers that are like, no, we need the social work exam. And yet, like that is going to be that's how we like end up with these attorneys.
To me, that would be, this could be part of a process of an advisory committee. I see surveying as an opportunity to proactively elicit what exactly is your concern. And then what that does is allow us to address it before we end up in front of the legislature and somebody throws a wrench in it and we're like, oh, shit. Like, so to me, that's the purpose of like, you want to be able to say, we sought this feedback widely and these people said this, and here's why, we heard that concern and this is what we're doing to mitigate it, or this is why it doesn't hold water because of the research actually challenges that. Like, I think the goal is when you make, and I think I don't know if I've said it in this room or individually to people, when you are making a major system change like this, it really is a waste of time if you don't think about all the ways it could go sideways or be undermined.
Mhm.
So we really have to be prepared if we're going to go down this road.
Mhm.
And that means always hearing from who's going to push back on this the most.
Mhm.
That's who you want to hear from as early as possible in the process.
Mhm.
Who's going to have a problem with it?
Mhm. And I'm hearing your concern is like a bunch of white people will be like, works fine for me, and that we
But if
would
that's
be
not
like,
still
okay,
okay,
sure, that's fine.
Data?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
Fine.
But then
Yeah.
so what you are saying, it's not like, oh, because only one person had this concern, we're not going to look at it. It's like, we're going to look at every concern, however many
Well, you
times it
asked-
comes up in
you asked the
in
question,
report.
right? Just
Yeah.
like, quite honestly, there's going to be people who say, they should have to do it because I did.
Yeah.
it."
Yeah.
That's nice. And that's not a reason.
Yeah.
But again, if that's all we get,
Mhm.
great.
Yeah.
But if there is
But
someone
just
who's
to
going
know.
to come up with something that like, okay, we need to be prepared to address it. So we can say, if we're going to make, go through the process, make the change, if we're sit down in front of the legislature, here are all the concerns that we elicited. And
Mhm.
here's the ones
Here's
that,
the
here's what we're doing in response to that, or this is why we hear that. And again, it's not a reason not to make this change, considering mom and
Mhm.
all the statistics and the research back at them. So
Yeah.
that's why I'm like, as frustrating as this is, I've done this enough times. Anytime you're making a system change, the first people I want in is who's going to fight me the most on it.
Yeah. So then can I make a motion?
Well,
That-
Kyle wanted to
Kyle.
say-
The legal standpoint that the board does have authority by rulemaking, obviously, to
Right.
establish whether an exam is required or not.
Exactly.
Okay.
Right.
I have had other agencies that have done rulemaking that's controversial. And what happens is the parties that are unsatisfied with it go to the legislature.
Yes.
They
Exactly.
not only reverse what was done, but they actually go further distance.
Right.
Mhm.
Yep.
And
So I'm not trying to say that from a policy standpoint, but from a legal standpoint, the board is subject to what's in statute.
Right.
And the legislature controls that. And now the legislature has delegated to the board the authority by rule to determine whether an exam is required or not. And that obviously the legislature can change. So that's the only thing I wanted to point out.
And considering the larger context of the world we are in right now, I would fully expect somebody to come out of the freaking woodwork if we don't do our due diligence.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, like for me, I don't know if it's fair or accurate to assume the outcome of a polar survey before we have it.
Mhm.
That's the whole point of it.
Mhm.
And even if there is nothing, great,
Yeah.
we still have, then yes, we surveyed all these people and there's support for this and acknowledgement of the impacts it's having on some communities and individuals who are already oppressed and
I
marginalized.
mean, and if we want to understand people's perspectives, that's the fairest way to do it, is to gather the information.
Mhm.
Well, and I concur with what Molly's saying. I'm not recommending that we just sit on it and just build unnecessary barriers. But I've had to sit in a chair since I've been part of in this position to where someone had a problem with something that was done, and then they created legislation that I had to go down and fight because we didn't know who was gonna
Mhm.
be opposed to whatever action we're making. So it would be wise to at least have some idea of who might be opposed so that we can
Mhm.
circumvent that whole thing, because there's not a worse position to be in than be sitting in the legislature because someone's unhappy and and they want to write a piece of legislation and then we have to throw a bunch of resources at that.
Mhm.
It's much better to have to figure that out up front.
Okay, so let me know if we need to play Simon Says, but or repeat after me. I make a motion. I'm going to make a motion to, I don't know who would do it, but like to create a survey to administer to Oregonians about,
All Oregonians or the social workers?
well, I'm thinking about the piece around the well, okay, so I'm undoing my motion. So but the question about like protecting the public,
Mhm.
like how the public
Voice.
sees
Mm.
this matter, which is why I said all Oregonians, and then maybe in this survey, you can push against me. I'm just,
No,
if
I'm
that's-
just trying to envision how that would happen.
It would probably have to be like,
Kyle has-
Board doesn't necessarily need to vote to do a survey. You can
Right.
direct
Okay.
staff to do a survey.
Exactly.
oh,
You can like have staff say, I want to work with 1 or 2 board members, not more than that
Right.
usually,
Exactly.
but to help develop the surveys.
oh, okay.
A survey is not necessary to have a board vote or decision, so
Okay.
action's not necessary. If you wanted to do the rulemaking process, even at this point, I suppose the board could vote to form a rules advisory committee to start the process, but you typically don't necessarily do that either.
Mm.
So you would just give direction. There's not an actual decision-making point
Hmm.
at this point, but unless you wanted to force something to move forward. So. like,
Okay, so it's not a decision, it's a request for a survey?
it's direction to staff essentially. And if there's disagreement about it, then you might need a vote,
Okay.
you know, but it's not something that actually would require a vote unless there's disagreement and you had to resolve that through voting.
So is it just thinking about both things, like, is that a survey that can go out to CSWAs, RBSWs but is also then available on the website so the public could
Theoretically.
access that and survey? I mean, not that it would be available, right?
Yeah, I'm just thinking, I was like, is that I'm getting into the logistic or like the weeds of like, is that a question on the survey of are you a social worker or are you the public? Or is it 2 surveys? One is for social workers, one is for the public,
I would do one with identification.
one with identification.
Mm,
And not.
What would you do the Microsoft Forms? And we can
And
embed
then you
that
can
in.
sort it, can't you?
Just like we did
Yeah.
for like. So just-
I'd be interested in being
Technology.
part of that because I'd be curious how the questions would be different for the board versus, or for social workers trying to pass an exam versus how the public
Oh, yeah.
perceives what it means.
Yeah, I guess I was thinking of it just being like one question.
One question,
basically,
or
right?
if we do this,
The
what's the
board is
trigger?
considering
Mm.
removing the current the test for licensure.
Mhm.
Like,
So
you know, what if
There's
a few
been
concerns?
several states who have done surveys
Mhm.
and at the delegate assembly, they were in the assembly member
Mhm.
and talked about problems. Like
That they ran into with their
wish we
surveys.
wouldn't have done this, wish we
Mhm.
would have just done this. So if we could learn from them, that would be great also.
I would love to see that.
Yeah.
it's 2:11.
Okay.
So what's the window of time that y'all are envisioning?
As soon as possible.
Yeah.
That the
What's our
survey's
next
up?
meeting?
February, I think.
It's February.
I don't know.
Yeah, next meeting's gonna be February.
Board, I saw board meeting 26 was in here somewhere. Yeah.
Whatever the 3rd Friday is. It
The
would be
20th. Mm-hmm.
Well, I would be willing to help work on it. And it sounds like Olivia, I didn't know if there was anybody else who wanted to, but we could even just like kind of get together really quickly, get some, but because I think that would, is that gonna fall on y'all?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, we'll wind up
happy to do
doing it. My concern is, I guess, I'm gonna toss it out. Be very thoughtful in number one. I mean, you want to think backwards from your result. If you all are, I don't, what exactly are you trying? What data are you trying to get to?
Mhm.
What information is going to inform a decision specifically? And then build a survey question around that, because, like she was saying, do you support an alternate path to licensure?
Or
That's
what are
not
the benefits,
usable
what are the
data.
concerns?
Yeah.
Right.
Like,
What are your concerns? And then fill in those concerns. Who are you and what are the concerns?
Mm-hmm.
That would be more useful data, because that would tell you who's either going to support it or who's not going to support it, and how to identify that.
I think we asked both questions, though. What would the benefit be? What would a concern be?
Perfect. Yep. Something like that.
And that helps us. It would help the rules committee if they were going to rewrite it.
Absolutely.
Could we come back in February, like doing some work about the here, like we did some research, here are some questions, and then have that. Ooh, Molly, I got a stank face. What
I
happened?
know, can you just, do we need that much oversight?
To bring the questions back to or to bring the
No,
survey back to the
to
board?
just get the survey up and running? Like, do we
Mm.
all need to have input
Oh, I see
on
what
those
you're saying.
questions, or can you
Mm.
guys just do it and launch it so that we could potentially have data by February?
Versus having a
Waiting to launch.
survey in February and then
Yeah.
maybe data in
Yeah.
April.
If you're only talking about a couple questions,
Mm-hmm.
what I worry about is just the,
The dragging out.
Yeah.
and just the excessive, what this word versus that word that happens to more people that are in the room. Like,
Mhm.
I think you know what we're going for. I think there's too many cooks in the kitchen that can happen sometimes. I trust you both to be able to do that.
So kind.
Not my strength.
I love
So
surveys.
there you go. I love that for you. Just am mindful of I want it to feel like a step forward and not
Yeah.
a delay.
Yeah.
And I do think it's valuable and I think it's important. So I'm just asking the question, but I also want to be mindful of I know it may seem like not that big a ask and I don't know what your schedules actually allow for, but
Well, I think we're meeting next week, so we can have that. We can get to it.
Yeah, I think you guys can create, you guys can come up with the questions, create it. It's a pretty simple process. It's really looking at the data that takes some time.
and we're looking at 2-3 questions, right?
Mhm.
That's it. So it's not like
Yeah.
a really complicated thing.
Yeah.
So I would hope.
Could you send me the information that you learned
Yeah.
before? Okay.
Yeah, and I asked for actually last week asked to get that. So hopefully
We're at 2:15.
okay.
Okay.
Can we move on? Because we have a few more class. The 6-month report.
Oh,
Why is that on?
yeah, there's nothing to do with that.
Okay.
Report out. It's done. We're gonna distribute it.
Okay.
I do have something about the alternative pathway, but not in terms of should we, shouldn't we, and how to move things forward.
Mhm.
But something came to my attention very, very recently. A colleague of mine, I don't know, just doing some research, I guess. That's what we do in academia. Brought to my attention that the original 21 page, which was not board approved and is not the current one that we're even using, has been posted to researchgate.com.
Oh.
And the implication from looking at it, they assumed and has been cited as if that is a board approved document. And I was unhappy to hear that.
It says, it's titled, continuing, or the, alternative pathway to social work licensure committee report to the Oregon Board of.
So you
Licensed Social Work.
posted it there?
Yeah.
So my understanding is that there's nothing that can be done about that anyone evidently who was on that committee has a right to do that legally. I have to say, it felt really disrespectful to me and it has eroded trust because that was not something that was brought to the board for even a conversation about being posted publicly anywhere. And I can tell you based on my colleague who then also said, the way it was cited, very much those people are reading it as if that is a board approved document, that 21 pager. So I'm pretty unhappy about that. And I just want to put that out there because if we were in process and just the lack of transparency and communication of that is deeply problematic for me. And it's made me question whether or not I want to stay on this board if that is how we're going to function with each other. So I just wanted to name it. And I made the choice of I didn't know for sure who published it. I didn't dig and look into it. I'll be honest. I made the choice to intentionally bring it to the meeting because I want it on public record that I'm unhappy about that. And I want it on public record that that is not board approved for it to be out there. And that I personally am questioning, is that the kind of dynamic I want to be a part of? So I'm not looking for a response or anything. I just want to be real transparent about where I'm at. And that you may be looking for another board member to be sitting right. We'll see. Thank you. We can move on to the training.
We do have to approve the consent agenda.
Okay.
So if you can take a look in the box, there is a consent agenda.
I think I've already seen it, but can I look at it on your?
Mhm, absolutely.
Laptop?
Yep.
It's just. Not working now.
Oh, did I just pass? There it is.
Okay, where are you finding it?
It's in the main box, I think.
Yeah,
It's a PDF.
There it is. I got it. Thank you. I went right by it.
You need to see it.
I know, exactly. It's right.
Somebody who's on there.
Exactly.
'Cause it's like,
It's symbolic.
See the numbers.
It's symbolic, Troy.
because they don't know what to put on there.
I'm still looking at
It's nice. Actually, the reason I like to get it sometimes is
Might-
I'll
might-
see some of my student names
Exactly.
sometimes.
Yep.
It's kind of nice to see like, oh, look at the progression. Because I teach
Plan changes
undergrad.
on there.
I looked at my plan change and I'm like. So I would, if somebody could make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Nicole Bentley make a motion to approve the consent agenda
As presented.
as presented.
Thanks, Nicole.
This is Molly, second.
Thanks, Molly. This is Amy Ashton Williams and I.
Aye. Troy Castalis, aye.
Nicole Bentley, aye.
Cynthia Borman, aye.
Molly Jansen, aye.
Wonderful.
All right.
Announcements, nobody from ASW, and if you guys are okay for us to do our ASWB
Next time,
next time,
if that's okay with the board.
if that's okay with you guys, we went to delegate assembly and we can share updates.
Now we are on to.
Oh, we're so excited.
Training time.
Meeting.
I will head out.
All right. Thanks, Kyle.
Bye,
I've already
Kyle.
had it.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
it's so much fun.
I have to. Thanks, Kyle.
Have a great holidays, everyone.
If folks need to use the restroom, we.
Oh, did you already take the training? Okay.
You have my sound.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
Enjoy your free.
All right.
And I can.
Thanks, Noel.
I think, right?
Yes. Yeah.
We do that before I.
I should have asked. Yeah, Kyle just left. It should be okay.
Oh, I think I just started
You
it.
know, mine,
Took it
like,
2 years ago.
I'm like, Molly, when
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. If for whatever reason it doesn't pop up, we'll be out of compliance.
I'm resharing it.
You see me back in work.
Don't have a.
It's my public state, I gotta-
I'll let you do
I'm gonna
it.
get water.
Yes, please.
Whatnot before.
How about we come back at like 2:26? People can do their thing.
Yeah. I like the idea.
Troy, thank you. Really helpful.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like a symbol full of what all you've been doing, but this, like this, I could try and read, I tried.
We honestly didn't even expect you to do that. Like,
Yeah.
you're amazing.
Yeah,
No,
you are.
no,
All star.
no.
Do we have gold stars? When you walked out, you were a great Borman fan. Wait, I'm a social worker, so I'm.
It's hilarious.
I thought about digging into my stuff I pulled from my office, my name plate.
Oh, yeah.
The one I've got is a black background. And the other one I've got is,
So you already have one,
well,
right?
someone did a paper one, I think. Someone did a paper one,
Oh,
which is fine. But-
It's just coming.
The other one I have.
hey, they're on it. They're on it.
It's the old exec that was the gold with the black embossed, but it has the state seal.
Oh,
It's
okay.
being a governor appointee.
Right, right.
That's back what we used to
Oh.
get.
That's fancy.
Yeah, they were fancy and had 3 color business cards
Oh, wow.
embossed with the seal and everything. I've got a handful of those tucked away.
Wow.
How do we get?
Back in the day. So who will be the actual one involved in Workday?
Me.
Okay, just so, again, I think
Oh,
we
yeah.
talked about just a heads up.
Okay.
Just gotta kind of watch to make sure that it doesn't want to send it to my,
So you're right.
State
Your
email.
state, yeah,
because
exactly.
it'll,
Okay.
I won't see it. And nobody else will either.
All right, okay.
It goes into the ether.
Oh, no, actually, for the certificate part, that's,
Oh yeah, what
Right,
are we
that's
talking
a-
about?
so since Troy is a past state employee, he's got 2 profiles on Workday.
Workday.
Okay.
And so we want to make sure that his
Careful.
certificate goes to
That's
his,
by Comcast, not.
Oh yeah, that's what I have
Oregon.gov.
to do on the contact list.
But Workday has its own.
It has
version
ODOT or
of the world.
something, right? Yeah.
Yeah, so just gotta watch the Workday doesn't superimpose.
Okay.
And even though like this training and a couple others have done multiple times, in fact, did it as an employee, then had to go through it and sit with my teams.
you know what though? Yeah, we'll double check. I'll double check.
It's okay.
But
Okay.
I think, well, yeah, this is worth double checking, because I was gonna say the profile, because you when you do the trainings, oh, you don't do them though, right? You send them out to somebody, right?
I just send.
You just send an email.
I send our board members' names to
Right.
our HR person, and she
Okay.
updates Workday.
Okay, so Sherry, so I'll take that up with Sherry.
So heads up,
That's
your
me.
board member has a profile.
Right.
As a former state employee, just be careful to watch that Workday
It's the
doesn't
board.
superimpose the state email over the top
Right.
of the personal.
Yeah.
Got you.
Yeah,
Because when I went in and the first time I went to apply for board position 2.5 years ago, I never heard back. Well, then I went and asked and I said, well, we sent you, no, sent it to where? Well,
Right.
to the state email address.
Okay.
So it worked. I said Workday's got its own version of
got
it.
its own thing.
Yeah, we still don't understand it fully.
Exactly. So,
Everyone asks us for help, and we're like,
no,
Yeah.
sorry.
that's not my thing. I cannot help you with Workday.
Because I'm waiting, because there's new board member training, and like, oh, great, some of those classes.
Mm.
There's new board member training. You think once Workday tells me, hey, log in and go take it.
Yeah.
Pending.
Okay. So we want the one that's associated with the Comcast,
No.
not the state email, right?
Yeah, you want to
Do I
go
have it
to
right?
Comcast, you want to go to Comcast.
Yes.
I don't have access to, you haven't.
Yeah, I think I did notice because so do you have 2 OR numbers though?
He probably
No.
does.
Probably
He,
do.
he likely does have 2 hours.
Okay, I think I need to update that
I
on.
may even have 3. I may have.
I looked you up in Workday for your OR number because that was on your mileage reimbursement thing, so I may need to just,
Yeah,
I'll make sure, because when I looked you up, I remember seeing it was an ODOT.
So there may be 3. There may be one that when I was
Stop
the
very much.
administrator, maybe one that when I came in as a temp, because they were crashing and burning and needed to come back as a retiree temp. And then now 3rd is the potential and then from the board. So there's potential.
Oh my gosh, okay. When I looked you
I
up.
apologize.
Okay, we're facing.
Right, when I, Christmas, I'm like, what do you want me to make? They're like it's chopped mints. The little pillow ones that are like, the pastels that dissolve in your mouth. My mom was at a senior living. Let's do it.
Okay, so I see one of you and it says you're a public member for our board,
Oh, there you
but
go.
then it has your work email as the ODOT.
oh, wow.
Okay.
Yeah, there's only one.
I've had access to email.
In Workday.
Yeah, so we
Well,
gotta take that up with Sherry.
So,
You're logging us in, right, Kim? We're just using
Yes,
the big screen.
this year.
Okay, because maybe that's not usable.
I did all my trainings at the beginning of the year,
Yeah, sounds. I think there's and there's a window you're allowed to, you have to.
but I can't get into it because I don't have an OR number anymore.
You should have an OR number.
Well, she does, but the authentication goes to her old work phone.
Yep.
In order to get in.
Oh.
Yep.
Yeah, so yeah, that's something I think,
Mine got
Yeah.
unlinked,
right,
so I can.
I have to call DAS, I think,
yeah.
and I just haven't done it yet. I don't know that anybody's ever really excited to talk to DAS. Or OT, Office of Technical IT or whatever.
we have to share a different screen. now.
What's are we still trying to pull this up?
Yeah,
The class.
So why is it's February, April, June. I would expect a meeting to be in August, but then it's September, October.
Vacation. Really like it on July.
oh yeah, August,
Oh, the
November.
calendar? Yeah.
Historically just doesn't meet in those.
Oh,
So
okay.
It does mess up
Not
the.
enough people.
Yeah, so yeah, Troy, yeah, you might want to take a look at that.
I did.
Okay.
I did.
That's not the right word.
I only,
Yeah, forum, that's it.
I won't be here in June, but
I'm not here in October.
Yeah.
I get to go to Nepal. Very excited.
Ooh.
This better not be another pop-up.
Yeah, if you know ahead of time, if you wouldn't mind shooting an email to me and Kim,
Okay.
because like Molly says, we want to know ahead of time if we're gonna have quorum or not.
Yeah. All right. So we gotta play this.
Course settings. Getting the most out of your experience. There are several ways you can set up this course to meet your own individual needs. To enhance your experience, we intentionally designed this
we don't
course
need
to
to do
align
script.
with accessibility standards and offer you information in diverse.
This is good saying what's in the cover. I don't think we really need it. Employee discrimination and harassment. Answer the question to move in training. Okay. Is that big enough? Try and zoom in.
Oh, I'm gonna say true.
Excuse me.
Bless you. You need that more than me.
It's not a nose thing. I need to drink water.
Oh,
I think it's a
True.
I need to bring my OSU dad copy mug. I got an OSU copy mug.
On designated individual, that's a good.
We want to listen or do we want to read?
I can't see.
Oh, no.
So listen then.
Listen.
Mhm.
18 seconds. We can.
Designated individual is an individual designated by the agency who is responsible for receiving reports of any type of discrimination, harassment, or sexual assault. Each agency must identify a designated individual and an alternative. Discrimination. Making employment decisions related to hiring, firing, transferring, promoting, demoting, benefits, compensation, and other terms and conditions of employment based on or because of an employee's protected class status. Examples of the protected classes include race, color, religion, physical or mental disability, sex, sexual orientation, gender identity, national origin, marital status, or age. For a complete listing, refer to the Discrimination and Harassment-Free Workplace Policy. Gender identity. An individual's gender-related identity, whether or not that identity is different from that traditionally associated with the individual's assigned sex at birth, including, but not limited to, a gender identity that is transgender or androgynous. Inappropriate workplace behavior. Unwelcome or unwanted conduct or behavior that causes a negative impact or disruption to the workplace or the business of the state, or results in the erosion of employee morale that is not associated with an employee's protected class status. Examples of inappropriate workplace behavior may include comments, actions, or behaviors of an individual or group that embarrass, humiliate, intimidate, disparage, demean, or show disrespect for another person. Inappropriate behavior does not include the actions of performance management, such as giving supervisory instructions, setting expectations, giving feedback, administering disciplinary actions, or conducting investigatory meetings. Professional workplace behavior. Supporting the values and mission of Oregon state government and the agency, building positive relationships with others, communicating in a respectful manner, holding oneself accountable, and pursuing change within the system. Sexual assault. Unwanted conduct of a sexual nature that is inflicted upon a person or compelled through the use of physical force, manipulation, threat, or intimidation. Sexual harassment. A form of workplace harassment and includes, but is not limited to, the following types of conduct: unwelcome sexual advances, requests for sexual favors, or other conduct of a sexual nature when such conduct is directed toward an individual because of that individual's sex, and submission to such conduct is made either explicitly or implicitly a term or condition of employment, or submission to or rejection of such conduct is used as the basis for employment decisions affecting that individual. unwelcome verbal or physical conduct that is sufficiently severe or pervasive to have the purpose or effect of unreasonably interfering with work performance or creating a hostile, intimidating, or offensive working environment. Workplace. All property and facilities owned, leased, rented, or otherwise occupied by the Oregon State government, including grounds, buildings, parking structures, and lots, vehicles, and other equipment, and any site where an employee enters on behalf of the employee's employment within Oregon State government, including an agency-sponsored offsite event, traveling on behalf of the agency. Workplace harassment. Conduct that is unwelcome, unwanted, or offensive, and based on or because of an employee's protected class status. Workplace harassment may occur between a manager-supervisor and a subordinate, between employees, and between non-employees and employees, when the non-employees have business contact with employees. Workplace harassment can be based on national origin, age, sex, race, disability, religion, sexual orientation, gender identity, or gender expression. It may also encompass other forms of unwelcome, hostile, intimidating, threatening, humiliating, or violent behavior that is not necessarily illegal, but still prohibited by policy. Examples of harassment include, but are not limited to, derogatory remarks, slurs, and jokes about a person's protected class status. Check for understanding. Complete the check for understanding before moving on to the next module. Pick the correct term for the definition. Conduct that is unwelcome, unwanted, or offensive based on or because of an employee's protected class status. This conduct may occur between a manager-supervisor and a subordinate, between employees, and among non-employees who have business contact with employees. Discrimination, sexual harassment, workplace harassment.
Workplace harassment. Workplace.
Okay.
It's your guys' training.
Pick the correct term for the definition. Conduct that is unwelcome, unwanted, or offensive sexual advances, requests for sexual favors, and other verbal or physical conduct of a sexual nature.
You'll
When
listen to the whole
submission to such conduct is made either explicitly or implicitly a term or condition of the individual's employment, or
I think the
submission
director
to
said, read this, but read it like you're a computer.
It could be.
Continue.
All right.
long-standing systemic barriers. For far too long, long-standing systemic barriers built into government systems have excluded communities of color from accessing the programs and services that would offset the effects of history. Disparities in health, economics, education, and the criminal justice system are stark amongst communities of color compared to their white counterparts. Japanese internment camp in Malheur County, 1942. Soldiers forcibly removed people of Japanese descent to internment camps throughout Oregon. This image is a black and white photo of a Japanese internment camp. Racial inequities. Racial inequities exist across all community indicators of success. These inequities have been generated by bias and discrimination embedded in policies, practices, and culture.
Oh, yeah.
Memorial Coliseum, 1958. Construction of the Memorial Coliseum and I-5 in the South Albina neighborhood of Portland displaced thousands of Black Oregonians. This image is an aerial photo of the South Albina neighborhood during the construction project. Systemic exclusion and bias. Many other groups, including women, the LGBTQIA2S+ community, immigrants, people with disabilities, and other religious minorities, have experienced systemic exclusion and bias as well. Women's suffrage. Women seeking the right to vote ride the Oregon suffrage lunch wagon in June 1912. This is an image of women protesting for suffrage in 1912. National and state policies. National and state policies and practices have both a historic and current role in alleviating racial and other inequity. A ban is lifted. In 2014, Oregonians celebrated U.S. District Judge Michael McShane's ruling lifting the ban on same-sex marriage. This is an image of people celebrating the lifting of the ban. Building a safe and more equitable Oregon. Oregon state government is committed to building a safe and more equitable Oregon where everyone has the opportunity to thrive and everyone's voice is heard. Federal and state laws and policies. These policies correct many forms of exclusion and account for inequities in social and institutional power. This is the cover of the State of Oregon DEI plan. Correcting forms of exclusion. Laws and policies to prevent discrimination and harassment in the workplace exist within the context of history. Over time, federal and state laws and policies have been enacted to correct many forms of exclusion and adjust the balance of social and institutional power.
You guys want to listen to this? Okay.
Modern civil rights movement. The modern civil rights movement began when Rosa Parks was arrested for sitting on a bus. It was 1955, and under Alabama law, she was expected to give up her seat to a white man. She refused, prompting a year-long bus boycott and launching a movement. This is an image of Rosa Parks riding on the bus.
That's the moment it started.
Sit-ins, marches, and boycotts. Sit-ins, marches, and boycotts continued in the struggle for equal rights. In August 1963, 250,000 people gathered to hear Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. address the March on Washington. These protests led the federal government to act. In this image, Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. addresses the March on Washington in August 1963. I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character.
Just a little commentary on like the sort of mythos that they're like forming right here.
So we're not actually quizzed on these.
Like, do we want to just
At risk of being perceived to be even more prickly than normal, like, what the hell are we doing here? Like, none of this actually says, don't say racist stuff, like, what? Do we have to listen? Can we
I
just
feel
take
like
a quiz?
like middle school history or something.
I will do as the board directs me.
To the bottom.
What's the quiz say?
Yeah, where is the
Age
questions?
discrimination.
Yeah.
Rehabilitation Act.
That one. Maybe they did a study and they found out if you tell people not to do it, it doesn't work. So maybe they're trying a new thing.
Yep.
Seems like
Showing people a picture of the Japanese internment camp is not gonna change behavior.
I think it's important.
I have an actual family
really
picture.
important.
My grandparents had one.
And like that, and also the
It's in our family photo album.
internment camps in Eastern Oregon. Many Oregonians don't know
I
that.
realize it, yeah. Talk about that. in the
Unless you live in Eastern
Valley
Oregon.
Museum.
Right.
Yeah. But the mythos of like that Dr. King
Different forms of power dynamics.
marched on Washington never changed.
Mm-hmm.
Or that,
And that Rosa Parks sat on the bus and everything changed too.
yeah. And that Rosa Parks wasn't an activist beforehand.
Right.
She's just a little
They just have her. She was like 30.
Yeah, right.
She was. Back in the day.
We're talking like the, what is
Listen
that?
here, Molly.
Stories around her.
Smart women.
I went to a graveyard and it's a pioneer graveyard, right? Because it was right by my house and I wanted to look at it. And first of all, there was a lot of kids, but then I was reading the headstones and one said, Jebediah was a fine old man. He had this many kids. He was 38 when he died.
Yeah, that was in the 70s. 30, still young.
Here we go. Okay, here, finally.
Test.
Okay. Pick the correct term for the definition. Supporting the values and mission of Oregon state government and the agency, building positive relationships with others, communicating in a respectful manner, holding oneself accountable, and pursuing change within the system. Discrimination.
Professional workplace behavior.
I support that.
I second that.
Read faster than the report.
And you're a little bit more engaging. Yeah, I get that.
This is
That
totally
could be all
different.
information for lots of people. I don't think anyone in this room, it's new though, so.
Yeah, they've changed it since the last, this is totally different.
Scenarios?
Yes,
It's
yeah.
more
You
fun.
like click on.
Ooh,
Yeah.
what should Jeff do now?
Yeah, this is completely different. They don't want us learning it by heart or something.
Oh, no. Oh, here we go. This scenario. There we go.
All right, let's get in it.
All right.
You want to listen? Or you want me to get?
Mike's in a meeting with his
Okay,
team. Harold makes a comment about a coworker's clothing choice, suggesting it's inappropriate for the workplace.
So
Harold.
judgy.
What if it is?
You're like,
It's your house.
Last week.
I like he laughed.
similar comment even. Okay.
Yeah.
Mike is passive aggressive.
Sorry. Somebody show finish.
Scenario?
It's Friday.
I don't think.
That's a scenario.
Oh, yeah, okay.
There you go.
What was Sam?
Sammy Wimmy.
Sam.
Sam's working on a big project and the contract specifications are due to today. His coworker Mitchell was developing them, but had not sent them yet, and it was 3 p.m. Sam video conference Mitchell to check in on the status, and Mitchell blew that up button at him saying he was working on them and
He looks upset in the photo. I choose one.
All of them have the same kind of format. One of them is laughing, one of them is like.
Yeah.
One is like, you cannot believe someone's gonna do that. I wanna see who picked that one. If you pick that, does HR see it? And then you can do,
Well, they make us take the thing over. right?
True or false? Inappropriate workplace behavior can include being forced to attend an investigatory meeting. Giving supervisory instructions.
God.
Bad opinion.
Yeah, it's just. It says who. It's good. These are all protected classes.
Prohibitionary polygraph exam. So, okay.
can't just hook people up to this anymore.
They're training types of amateurs. You demonstrate 30.
Examples of micro assault.
Do you want to read through our list or?
That's up to them. I would.
Readers? Okay.
So these are micro assaults.
Is it micro assaults or aggressions?
Yeah.
Well, there's microaggression, or microaggressions was above it, and these are micro assaults.
There's different definitions for them, though.
I always like heard those called like macro aggressions.
Do we need to make sure we know the definitions in case
Sure.
they try to trick us later?
So these are microaggressions.
Tell you, for some people, microaggressions can be challenging to recognize because they often appear harmless on the surface. But they can have a cumulative and harmful impact on the individual who experiences them. They can create an unwelcoming environment, causing stress, discomfort, and psychological harm. There are three types three main types of microaggressions. And so now we're going to go into microaggressions. Microassaults.
I got you.
The microassaults, these are explicit and intentional actions or comments that directly express discrimination or bias. That's a microassault.
Yeah, that doesn't seem.
That's a bunch of
It's all I mean, on the receiving end, I don't think it
Just
feels
feels
micro.
No, it doesn't.
Because there's.
Okay.
So the assault is intentional.
Here we go. So leaving someone out of communications because of some aspect of their identity. Yeah, had that happen.
Maybe it's micro because it's person to person
Mhm.
instead of like,
A policy, maybe, or
Yeah.
something, I don't know.
Moving away from someone because of the color of their skin or sexual orientation. Telling someone to go back where they came from, or inferring that someone doesn't belong because of their race, ethnic, or.
States
I heard that one. Anyway.
Okay.
Okay, all right.
Micro.
Micro insults, okay. Or just insults.
They're subtler.
Micro insults are subtler forms of discrimination that demean or disregard an individual's identity or experiences. Like, we don't want Somalians in our country. Anyway, I'm sorry. Telling a woman that she's so articulate or assertive, which can imply that these traits are unusual for her gender. Touching a colleague's hair without permission. Not making the effort.
Not free, Ray.
Exactly. Well, not a problem now. But yeah, I've had people do that.
Right.
Saying you speak English so well to someone who is a native speaker, referring to a group of mixed gender professionals as you guys, dismissing or trivializing religious holidays or practices, assuming that someone is not tech savvy based on their age.
Micro invalidation.
Wow. Negate or dismiss the experiences or feelings of people who experience marginalization. Examples. You want me to read all of them? Keep going. All right, keep going. Or dismissing or belittling someone's religious beliefs or practices. There we go. Well, here we go. Test time.
Okay.
The following is an example of a micro assault. Telling someone to go back to where they came from or inferring that someone doesn't belong because of their race, ethnicity, or accent. Is that a micro assault?
This
Yes,
person
they said
understands
it was.
what microaggressions are.
But we're teaching to the test here, right? We're looking that as a, yeah.
This is
Okay.
when people fail the SWB exam.
The following is an example of a micro insult, assuming that someone is not tech savvy because of their age.
Insult, yeah.
That was under the insult category, right?
I got one, see.
Let's go back and check.
I mean, they're all just not okay. Can we just call it that?
It is true.
Okay.
good memory.
Do you remember what? Oh, micro invalidation. Oh,
Who's
someone's trying
calling?
to-
Oh, someone wants to come in the lobby.
Intentionally refusing to respect.
Okay.
You don't want to
The
come.
following is an example of a micro invalidation. Oh,
That's true.
who is that?
Oh, we might want to tell them the meeting's over.
Yeah, exactly.
Can they hear
Can
us?
someone join the meeting?
Oh, yeah. Okay, the following is an example of micro invalidation, intentionally refusing to respect someone's gender identity by referring to the individual by a pronoun that does not correspond to their gender identity.
Mhm.
Sounds like it fits.
We've done one of each so far.
Right. All right, so this one's
Oh,
discrimination.
so what is that? Discrimination. Okay.
Yeah.
To begin scenarios. Here we go. Interview. You are a manager in an interview and you are interviewing a pregnant person who is qualified for the position. You think to yourself, workload is way too high right now to even think about hiring a pregnant person. True or false? If you did not hire this person because they were pregnant, this would be considered discrimination based on sex.
True.
Is it?
Is it based on sex
I
though, or is it based on
think it
being
is,
pregnant?
Yeah.
Yeah, but so like whatever the person's gender identity is, it's still based on sex.
I think it's false.
It is too.
Oh,
Oh, there we go.
Sex is a protected class.
Which includes pregnancy and pregnancy-related conditions.
If you are a manager in an interview and you are interviewing a candidate whose first language is not English, you think to yourself, I don't know what country he's from, but I don't understand a single word he said. I don't think our customers will either. If you did not hire this person based on their perceived accent of country or origin, this would be considered discrimination based on national origin under Title VII of the Civil Rights Act.
True.
Changing. You are a manager or a subordinate. No, you are a manager and a subordinate employee tells you that they are uncomfortable changing in a locker room with a transgender employee. You tell the employer, I would tell the employee, I would be uncomfortable too. I'll make them use a single stall restroom upstairs. True or false? If you do not allow an employee to use the restroom that they identify with, you will be in violation of Oregon law. True.
Sexual favors is a strange term.
Oh, sexual harassment video. Yeah. All right. We get to learn something from a video.
Mix it up a little.
Sexual harassment is
Sound.
any unwelcome verbal, visual, or physical conduct of a sexual nature that is severe or pervasive and affects working conditions or creates a hostile work environment. There are generally three forms of sexual harassment behavior: verbal, visual, and physical. Verbal harassment includes comments about clothing, a person's body, sexual or gender-based jokes or remarks, requesting sexual favors, or repeatedly asking a person out. It also includes sexual innuendos, threats, spreading rumors about a person's personal or sexual life, or using foul and obscene language. Visual harassment can include posters, drawings or pictures, screensavers, cartoons, emails, or texts of a sexual nature. Physical harassment often includes sexual assault, impeding or blocking movement, inappropriate touching such as kissing, hugging, patting, stroking, or rubbing, sexual gesturing, or even leering or staring. Each of these forms of harassment can be broken down into two categories: quid pro quo and hostile work environment. Quid pro quo means this for that. This happens when an employer or supervisor uses job rewards or punishments to coerce an employee into a sexual relationship or sexual act. This includes offering the employee raises or promotions, or threatening demotions, firing, or other penalties for not complying with the request. A hostile work environment occurs when employee behavior interferes with the work performance of another, or creates an intimidating or offensive workplace. This usually happens when someone makes repeated sexual comments that make another employee feel so uncomfortable that their work performance suffers, or they decline professional opportunities because it would put them in contact with the harasser. In either type of harassment, employees only have to prove that the behavior was offensive to someone, even if it was not the intended recipient. For example, Mike tells a dirty joke to Linda. Linda loves the joke and laughs. However, Michelle happens to be walking by when the joke is told. Michelle is offended by the joke. That joke could contribute to a hostile environment claim because Michelle, who happened to be in the area, finds the dirty joke offensive. There are two conditions to determine if a company is liable. The first is whether the employer knew or should have known about the harassment. The second is whether the employer failed to take appropriate corrective action. Having policies in place and an active training program can shield employers from expensive lawsuits.
And that's
At the end,
it seems like
it was so choppy in the middle.
I know. Questions? True or false? Sexual harassment occurs only when there is a power difference between the parties.
False.
True or false? To be considered sexual harassment, it must be done verbally and touching must be involved.
False.
True or false? The behavior must be repeated to be sexual harassment.
False.
Lesson 6 of 8. Employer responsibility. Consider others. Responses. Do not assume. Be self-aware. Are we good with scrolling through?
I think they're ready.
For speed
They're falling
reading.
fast. They're falling fast, Kim.
I mean,
What I usually do is I scroll to the end and just do the answers.
I mean,
Scenario, here we go.
I just made a joke.
Greg just made a joke about my coworker's body, and I feel very uncomfortable. He's also friends with my supervisor, so I don't know what to do. What should the employee do in this scenario? I am nervous to speak to my supervisor, so I'm going to speak with my HR business partner about this incident. Or since Greg is friends with your supervisor, it's better to say nothing and just deal with the situation. Oh my gosh, deal with the situation.
that's a tough one.
If you're union, you know, so talk to your steward.
True or false? If you are subjected to or aware of what you believe to be any type of discrimination or harassment, you can report it to all of the following: your immediate manager, supervisor, or another manager, your agency's board or commission's designated HR section, your board or commission's executive director or chair, the DASH Chief Human Resource Office, or your agency's designated individual or alternate. That's true. Not all.
HR isn't always the best place to take.
Manager responsibilities.
Right, right.
Yeah, no,
You're
I'm all
gonna answer these.
all over
You need to
it.
answer all.
So I
Actually, board members are considered managers.
Put the foot down.
Really?
We oversee, we have power
Okay.
over licensees.
Liability.
Knowledge check.
Knowledge.
All right, here we
Uh-oh.
go.
Troy, you're up.
Pressure's on.
What?
Managers/supervisors are held to a higher standard according to the discrimination and harassment-free
It's true.
workplace policy.
That is absolutely true.
Is it?
I don't know.
It is.
Okay.
It absolutely
Yes.
is. Yes.
Managers and supervisors are held to a higher standard regarding workplace harassment, sexual harassment, and discrimination. Is the following statement true or false? A manager can choose to keep a complaint of discrimination quiet if the complaint asks for it, if the complainant asks for it to remain confidential in the situation
Absolutely
seems
false.
relatively.
Completely false. So false.
First things you say. What first things you say?
Exactly. I do not have the option. I have to report it.
Kiyo's team is in a meeting.
Oh.
The mixed gender team is discussing a new program. When a team member asks, "What do you guys think?"
Ooh.
How should Sukiyo address the scenario?
Oh, Tsukio states that we should use the term you all or everyone when addressing the mixed gender team. She also follows up with private meeting. Sukio does not want to say anything in front of the team, so she quickly moves on. Number one. Reporting and investigating. Anyone can complain. Anyone can file a complaint.
You're getting it, Kim.
It's like delaying loading.
Here we
I think
go.
it knows I'm just.
Okay.
Oh, this one's not open.
A manager
Four
receives-
options.
A manager receives a complaint. What should they do? Talk to the person submitting the complaint, talk to the accused person about the inappropriate behavior, talk to another manager supervisor about the complaint, talk to the agency's designated individual or alternate without avoidable delay.
That's the one.
That one, yeah.
That's the one. Criteria for investigations. All complaints are taken seriously. Notify the accused, timely and appropriate action. Yep. Retaliation. Nope.
I'll do it.
Don't do it. Exactly.
Lesson 8 of 8, you guys.
Hey, yeah.
Bystander intervention.
Bystander. Direct approach. Delay approach. Distract approach. Delegate approach. Document. Here we go.
Marilyn volunteers for a project. Daniel jumps in and says, I'll take care of the presentation. And we all know Marilyn can't make a slide deck. You can see that Marilyn is hurt by this comment, but she doesn't say anything. Poor Marilyn. Select how you might intervene in this scenario. Stop the meeting and say, I don't think it's appropriate to comment on someone's ability to complete a project. Let's focus on the agenda. Do nothing in the moment, but later talk to Marilyn and say, that looked a little uncomfortable. Are you okay? Or your supervisor was there. They can address the issue.
How could a bystander intervene? Okay.
Like how you might. I mean, I
if
think
you're a bystander. Yeah. What's
gonna
that? The
stop
first
them?
one?
Is that what you guys want to know?
I think that's the first one.
Sure. This one or two might be.
I think it's the
If you're
first
comfortable, you could use the direct approach. I think you
Yeah.
could probably do. I don't know.
One or two
Yeah.
probably are
That's what
they're
I'm
gonna say
guessing.
that kind of thing.
Okay.
Maybe not.
What about ouch? Remember the ouch training?
Yep.
Okay. Talking in the hallway. Iris and Eliza, I don't know, are talking in the hallway. Lucas walks by and hears Eliza say, Iris, I told you that we can't take time off during this time of year. I don't care if you have family obligations. Lucas can tell that both Iris and Eliza are upset and frustrated. How could a bystander intervene? Select how you might intervene in this scenario. 1, Lucas walks up and says, hey, Iris, can I borrow you for a second? Or 2, Lucas keeps his head down and walks away. He is also afraid of Eliza. He does document the situation so he can talk to HR. Or 3, Lucas walks up and says, hey, Eliza, you know we treat everyone with respect here at the state. I know you're stressed, but it's up to our supervisor to approve leave. Let's put Eliza in her place.
Yeah, you like that one? Do it.
You're rude.
Well, nice.
Ooh.
Training complete.
All right.
There we go. Whew. Shout out to your HR team.
That's fast.
Score.
Wasn't that?
Yeah, when you don't listen to the phone.
Why was it that? I feel like it took up a good amount of time.
Oh, no, we didn't do that other one too, huh? I still gotta do that.
There, yeah.
Is there a shred box?
Yes, it's right behind you in that little basket thing. And you. Sharing. And I guess we're adjourning.
We don't even have to vote for it.
Well, I'm just gonna put
It's a 309 and we've concluded.
Ow. For me?
Yay.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate the welcome. Looking forward to the next 4 years. Or 3.5, actually. Partial term.
Yeah. All right. Let me know if you need anything for, I guess that goes for all of you. Looking up, I mean,
Pam, I'm trying to do the workday thing right now.
Okay. I'll try and, let me just message
Or
Noel.
Kim. All of it, where I'm like, I hate work day.
I know.
Really all year
Likes it.
to
You like,
take the trainings, but I've never been able to actually log in.
Board member training.
The university just moved to work
I
day.
don't even know what it is. It just won't let me.
I don't think
Well, now I don't even know what my username is. Oh, I guess I used to know what my username was. No, I think it's just my email. I don't know. Let's try that.
okay. Well, oh, you're trying to do the other training.
I haven't done any training.
Yeah, there's new board member training. I think there's a trio.
You're right.
That's what I was saying about make sure it's a workday
Yeah,
my way so that I know to log in and.
right, exactly. Okay. All right. Let me look into that. Nikki, are you having the same issues as far as the?
she can't authenticate.
I can't authenticate.
Oh, well, but that's something, I mean, we would just have work with IT so that we change your authentication method. All right,
I think I could take care of that.
you said you just can't
I have to do
authenticate.
payroll
right?
and I can't get on the road and do.
But you know that
Payroll, so I'm sitting here
they're
doing
probably
payroll.
using your work profile, Nikki.
Huh?
If they're asking for your work phone, then they're using your work profile.
Which is the same OR number.
As her board?
Yes,
Mhm.
it's the same OR number.
Okay, yeah, that's an IT thing.
I know. I live right next to IT, by the way. You know, he's my neighbor. Don't take my
Right,
stuff.
well, I don't know if, yeah, we can ask, I
Helen's
can ask
son.
Sherry to, we can ask Sherry. to-
He's like, you need these guys. I'm over here. I'm like,
Or even her.
you don't want turkey.
Contact, are you driving all the way back to Pendleton?
Yes. I gotta drive. I gotta drive to Boise. to-
What day is so cute?
Make the.
I'm going to Portland because we're going to Dave Chappelle.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, John and I are.
Give you the